Hey, this is John Bokenkamp.
This is John Eisendrath,
writers of number 4,
Mr. Kaplan,
and you are listening to The Blacklist Exposed
on Golden Spiral Media.
The truth will out. At least I hope so for Kaplan's sake. Welcome to The Blacklist Exposed. I'm Agent Troy Heinrichs.
And I'm Agent Aaron Peterson. I only have one question for you, Troy. Are you a vibrator kind of guy, or is that too personal? Anyway, thanks for joining us once again as we discuss number 4 on the Blacklist, Mr. Kaplan, written by John Bokenkamp and John Eisendrath, and directed by Don Thorne for the first hour and Michael Watkins for the conclusion. The Blacklist Exposed is supported by the new Reddington watch from Leonard and Church. Inspired by the show and its main character, this limited edition watch only has a few left in stock, and now you can get 20% off when you visit leonardandchurch.com/blacklist to order yours today. That's leonardandchurch.com/blacklist. Show notes and other intel for this episode of Blacklist Exposed can be found at theblacklistexposed.com. Now we get to the important question. Troy, are you going to answer my question? Or no, I'm just kidding. But before we get going, we do have some housekeeping. You ready?
Ready.
You still there? All of that me talking, I would have hung up. Honestly. All right. Well, here's some things we have to go over real quick because this is the season finale. But don't think it's the last episode. We actually have a couple of really cool ones coming up soon. So be sure to subscribe if you have not. But also coming up, the podcast awards. They are coming out again, and we need your help this July. Of course, you might forget by then because you'll be off from the Blacklist world and doing other things. So please set a reminder or something along those lines, and also make sure to subscribe to the podcast like I just mentioned. Don't just listen on the web. Actually hit that subscribe button in your podcast app player of choice. You can also download our own custom app for iOS and Android. Just search for The Blacklist Exposed. This way, you get notified of new episodes. And there's actually a couple things coming in the summer as well.
Yes, there are. To remind you about the awards, we're going to do some special July episodes to thank you for your support over the last 4 seasons. You've actually been asking us for some information from behind the scenes in New York, and we will have some New York-based episodes in July. So that'll be fun, so make sure you come back for those. Also, we're going to have another fan roundtable, plus Rory, who does our Thursday night pre-shows. He'll be joining me to review number 159 on the Blacklist, The Beekeeper, and number 166, The Dead Ring. Both are available from Titan Books, wherever fine books are sold. So you have about a month and a half or so to finish those books and then join us for those discussions in July.
Plus, if you are really missing out this summer, make sure to subscribe to The Hollywood Outsider podcast for all your movie and TV news. That's my personal podcast, The Hollywood Outsider. You can go to thehollywoodoutsider.com. And there's also The Hollywood Outsiders on your podcast app of choice. There's somebody else that's trying to use our name right now, so make sure you get the logo. It's the really cool film reels that's in blue, and it's The Hollywood Outsider. That's us. As well as Remake This Movie Right, which is a podcast that takes a movie and we remake it fresh and new for a modern audience, live on the podcast, complete with our own parody movie trailer. It's actually a lot of fun, I think. Recent episodes, Troy has been on many. He's a partner in that whole thing, pretty much. The Matrix, Flight of the Navigator, really creepy twist on Stand By Me that he's stuck on, that he wants everybody to know how awesome he did at that. And also our Stephen King's It episode, if you've never heard it. That's a great episode, and really hope they do the movie close to that, because I think that episode came out pretty good.
It did. Indeed. Well, last week we asked you the profiling question, what will Agent Gale do now that he knows the truth?
Dun, dun, dun. Terry Moody Walker end up sleeping with the fishes. Not yet.
Not yet. He did have a tuna sandwich, though, so he's close.
Nah. That's my laughter at you.
It's about as funny as your joke from the opening. Grace Norman, he'll probably try to shoot Red again.
You still never answered it. I'm just saying. Whatever.
Grace said he'll probably try to shoot Red again and follow Ressler around or something.
Or something. Mona Jones, I also think he has a deep grudge against Ressler. Well, he does now. It may put Donald in a precarious situation. Is the main character getting whacked? Could happen.
It was actually kind of close.
It didn't get whacked, just jumped off a bridge.
Well, Donald was put in a precarious situation, and it was a semi-big character that got whacked accidentally.
Well, he did do the whacking. Wait,
right.
Okay, continue. I came out so wrong.
Glenn Fredrickson said he's got to go. Maybe he and Kaplan will shoot each other and kill each other, with Kaplan dying to save Liz.
John Parrish, I think he's going to go off the deep end now that he's found out the truth, and he's going to kill Ressler in an angry confrontation. Red has learned that Gale is the one that fired the shot at the camp and tracks him down to find him standing over Ressler's lifeless body. Red kills Gale in retaliation. Hashtag Troy Certified Theories. What does that mean?
I think that means that concept is a little bit out there.
Oh, I actually like that concept as opposed to most of Troy's. So
there you go. Judy Miller closes out. We may never see him in the show again. Sorry, Judy.
I disagree now.
I love that line. Or maybe he investigates Hitchens' death next. I think he will investigate Hitchens' death next because,
That's
Julian,
possible.
There's more to come.
Foreshadowing.
Right, well,
Thanks to... There's a lot of foreshadowing in this episode. And we're going to talk about... I know everybody wants to hear about the season finale, but we had some cleanup we had to do. So thanks to everybody that participated in that profiling question of the week. There's a lot of answers, and we kind of cherry-picked a few. They will be back next season, so don't you worry. Answering these hard-hitting questions doesn't end here. Make sure you join our Facebook group. Just search for The Blacklist Exposed. Over 200 comment threads on the finale episode post alone. It is a great community, so come hang out with everybody all summer long, because trust me, they will be... There are so many theories already on there. I lost track. I couldn't even keep up. I'm like, okay, I'm out.
I literally had to turn off my notifications this week because it was it kept coming in like a waterfall. It's crazy.
It was blowing up.
All right, we'll do our best to leave our feelings, thoughts, bickering, and battles about the big questions towards the end of the analysis this week because there is so much other good stuff in the finale. Let's grab a tuna fish sandwich and sit back as we discuss this week's case profile.
You're really stuck on tuna fish sandwiches.
So are the writers. They came out twice in this episode.
Maybe they're hungry. I mean, are they not feeding them in that room? They just leave them locked up, and then they, every once in a while they'll slip a tuna sandwich under the door.
Maybe they were channeling their Dark Tower because there's a tuna fish connection there.
I don't know what it is. So that joke does nothing for me.
It wasn't a joke. It was just a statement of fact.
Okay. Well, that statement of fact does nothing for me. By the way, you still haven't answered my question. Okay. So let me ask you the finale. Let me ask you another question since you're not going to answer the important ones. The finale landed. What did you think overall of the 2-hour finale? Which, yes, it was one episode, but I see where they could do the syndication break. You know what I mean? I thought that was pretty natural. So what did you think of this 2-hour finale? Did you like it? Did you love it? Did you dislike anything? Like overall, just overall.
Yeah, we discussed it on episode 271 of The Hollywood Outsider, what makes a great TV series finale. So if you go listen to that episode on Aaron's other podcast, you'll realize that this finale was, I think, damn near perfect in a lot of ways. They did exactly what we said on that episode, which was to wrap up the entire season, everything that we've been kind of hunting for, searching for, wrap up all the stories, but then introduce a new thread and literally have you at the end of it going, oh, why is the show on next week? Come on. So from all that perspective, I think they did a really nice job. I think the 2 hours flew by actually pretty well. I love the first hour of the story, the whole trying to get the document for Red's immunity and use that in order to blow up the task force. And then, of course, moving into the second hour with just dealing with the war and the fallout and what's going to happen. And of course, getting an answer, whether it's the answer you believe or not, it is an answer. And I just love the fact that there's just more mystery, which is what we've been saying for a couple seasons now, that if they actually give us an answer or a big answer, it may just lead to more questions. So I love that we get more Blacklist. Season 5, bring it on. It's going to be great.
I loved everything about it, everything you just said. So I'm not going to just duplicate what you just said, except for the end reveal, because the fact that Red doesn't confirm or deny or to Liz means we're still stuck wondering, well, is that the truth? Is the architect a matter of fact? And if you don't know what the architect is, go back and look at it. He can play with your DNA and all kinds of scientific mumbo jumbo.
Alchemist.
I'm sorry. What did I say? The architect?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a different guy. And also a really bad character in The Matrix. So I didn't like that part. I thought that was, okay, I'm tired of being toyed with on that one. You know what I mean. We've had this conversation. I get tired of being toyed with on that whole thing. Just put something to bed to where it's not horribly debatable, so we can move on to the next questions. So I'm kind of doing that. I mean, I know a lot of people are still debating. You know, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm just going to go forward with the show as it presents the information, and I'll just make my best conclusions because I'm tired of like doing that dance. It's been 4 seasons of the same dance. Kind of moving on to the next step. You get what I'm saying?
I never took dance lessons, so it's the only dance I know.
There you go. But everything else I loved. I love the episode. I love the emotional connection at the end. I felt like it's great that, well, I'm glad that Liz and Cooper had a conversation, not the one you wanted them to have, but they had a conversation and back to where they belong, and the DNA thing came back into play, and Cooper talked about C. Duke, who some people assume might be Katarina, other people think might be someone else. I'm kind of in the middle. I don't know who C. Duke is at this point, but I like that there's something introduced there where we don't know yet. That's a cool mystery that it led to. And the bones was a great reveal, I thought, and we'll talk more about that as we go on, but that was a great reveal. And I even looked, not that I'm a forensic pathologist, I can't tell if it's a man or a woman, but I'm like, I've seen the show Bones. You'd think I'd be able to just, I guess it by now, and I can't. I can't tell if it's a man or a woman.
Well, and the funny thing is that I think I made this comment in the Facebook group that there was a Bones episode that was called "The Truth Is in the Lie," LYE. So maybe
I get that. I get that reference.
So maybe
I understood that reference.
Maybe we'll find something in the bones. Who knows?
Maybe we will. But a great episode. Seriously, it was well paced, excellently paced. A lot of character shifts, but reasonable shifts. The Ressler one, I think, took everybody by surprise. I think that was honestly my biggest shock. Nothing else was really a shock, but that was a big shock. Because I knew Kaplan either had to be apprehended or die. I knew it would be one of the two. But, man, Ressler killing Hitchens, never saw that coming.
But you never saw the way she was going to die coming. The swan dive never crossed my mind.
No, it did. As soon as they were on the bridge, it crossed my mind, honestly.
Well, yeah, once they get to that point.
Once they're up there, I'm like, okay. Now, I don't know about the fall. I'm kind of like, was it really that high up? I mean, I know if you fall from a certain distance, like hitting pavement, I don't know if that was high enough, but it probably is. She's a small woman, so
yeah,
possible.
I love the season 1, season 3 kind of throwbacks. The Mako Tanita and Reverend Wright's body and all those little tiny small nuggets kind of wrapping up. It almost felt a little bit like a series finale in a way for a lot of the episode. And I was
to me, it felt like they shot it that way. I don't know if I don't want to make assumptions. I have no idea, but I feel like, because sometimes when they get down to the wire with renewals, they'll shoot it both ways, so that they have a series end covered if it goes that way. And I felt kind of like that's what was going on, because it really felt like a series finale until the last 10 minutes. It
did. And that's fine. It made for a really great story. I loved the throwbacks, and the throwbacks really helped bring it directly into this particular story. I mean, the whole Reverend Wright case got him out of the grand jury. I mean, it just tied together so well. Like, I can't imagine that they actually had this mapped out. I mean, John said, sometimes they write as they go because they know where the signposts are, but they just kind of write at that moment to get to that signpost. So the fact that they're able to bring back some of that past stuff to get to where the signpost is right now, I think it was fantastic. This was really well done.
No, I think they knew where they were going. I think they had it worked out both ways, honestly. If they had to end it and if they wanted to continue, I think it felt very natural, which to me means they had a map. So
maybe maybe the Reverend Wright thing, but the Mako Tanita pullback, I thought that was probably one they go, oh yeah, let's just bring that one back out. That was fun.
You know for a fact? Or
no.
Is this one of Troy's theories?
Yes, it is. Troy certified. #
Lord. All right, let's get into the actual show. We kick things, and as always, if you've never listened, because I know a lot of people are new because they just watched the finale, so they want to listen to a podcast about it. So if you've never listened, we do a quick recap of what the main story plot was, and then we break down the characters. That's how we do our show. We don't do a play-by-play. So in this episode, Mr. Kaplan, number 4, which kind of funny. Were you surprised that she was number 4? Did you expect her higher or lower?
Nope, right where I expected her to be. Because I'm thinking like you have Liz as 1, or Red as 1, and Liz is 2. Katarina would be 3. So who's the next person that's in that hierarchy? In this case, Kaplan would be 4. So maybe a 5, but not much any lower than 5.
All right. Well, we kick things off with an arms deal that goes really awry when first the van doesn't show up. Then we hear the bills aren't being paid, and then the van gets there empty. Kaplan's attack has apparently crippled Red's business. Even Teddy can't help him. Aside from Betsy the giant snake, he's not going to help him anymore.
Can we talk about that for a minute? Because remember,
Sure.
remember last week when we said, hey, they should whack Brimley. And you were like, you can't whack Brimley. And then Brimley shows up, and I was like, I just want to get rid of the llama. And he doesn't show up with the llama.
He's got a giant snake.
Giant boa constrictor.
He likes to feed him alive rabbit. He likes to feel a little tickle. I like that. That was a good line. It turns out what happened is Abe has turned on Red too. I mean, man, she's flipping everybody, stealing from him. That leads to, was it Philip Roke? Is that the guy's name?
Yes.
With the Porsches? And leads him to Mario Dixon, a.k.a. Hardison, if you're a Leverage fan. And there is a nice nod, and I will get to that in a second. But if you never saw it, that's a fun little caper thriller show that was on TNT, and Troy and I are big fans of it. I've watched that series probably 3 times. It's just a fun, zippy. It's kind of like Psych, just fun and zippy. But so he came in, and he's a badass. He was an assassin, which I like him. I just saw him, and it's Aldous Hodge is the actor's name. But I just saw him in the new Jack Reacher movie too. So and I think he's got a new TV show, Underground or something. I haven't seen it, but I've heard it's really good. I haven't watched it.
He did really great in this episode. I loved his character. I almost kind of wanted him to stick around.
He does, and especially if you watch Leverage, it was polar opposite from that. So, I mean, because he's such a nice, jovial guy in that show, and here he was just, I'm all about me and death. So why the hell did Red not make Abe steal some money back before he shot him?
I think he was just pissed off in the first place. I mean, it's one thing, because he's already skimming off the top, and I love that he's like, you're stealing from me to have sex. That's funny. I think Red would appreciate that, actually, in a lot of ways. And so that's why he kind of turned a blind eye. So it's like, it's one thing to steal from him because he agrees with your escapades, but it's another thing to steal from him when it goes against what he wants to do. So I think at that point, value loyalty above all else comes to mind, and that's why he whacked him rather than trying to use him to do something else because he couldn't trust him anymore. So I'm okay with the death. That's number one. We'll keep count.
I'm not, though. I mean, the guy just still helped steal all your money. He facilitated that. That, to me, was a rash move. And, yeah, I get it. He's in dire straits, so maybe he's just reacting desperately. Felt very dumb. It felt dumb. I would have at least made the attempt to get some of my money back.
Well, if he doesn't have any money anymore, why does he need an accountant?
The accountant moved that money to a different location, so therefore that accountant knew exactly where that money was moved to, so he could try to move it back. See what I'm saying?
He's got the books. He doesn't need the person. He's got the books.
He needs the person.
He can have anybody
Always
else interpret it.
I'm saying he could have tried. Could have made an effort. I think that would have been a smarter play. That's all. This is why you're not high in crime, because you don't think of these things, and you should. Anyway, I love that Mario was willing to toss his brother, or Mario's brother. My brother was willing to toss him away so easy. I thought that was a pretty good deal. That was a fun play.
I was going to give him up before you even asked.
He was. Kaplan needs Mario to use an eye to steal the immunity deal and prove that Red is a turncoat. Can we just mention how much it would concern me if the government used a rundown store to hold secrets like this?
I kind of liked it. The bookshop front end coverage. I thought that was kind of very, very simplistic in a lot of ways.
It felt like it's probably true. And that's what worries me the most. Is that somewhere we have our most highly guarded secrets, like, what's the alien thing? Area 50, was it? Area 51.
Yeah, the aliens, yep.
Yep. They have that like in some locker in the bottom of a bookstore, and that's what I'm worried about. Like our deepest, darkest secrets are locked in the basement of a bookstore.
I love that the fact that nobody in their right mind can actually figure out the Dewey Decimal System. So here they actually have the things cataloged in the Dewey Decimal System card catalog instead of online on a computer. So I feel safer that our government secrets are actually offline, off the grid, so that it is, kept safe.
Sure. Yeah. You go ahead and feel that way. That's insane. All right. So we get back to Mario. He gets tortured. They catch him. He's got the immunity deal. And so they're going to use him to get to Kaplan. And he says something that, going back to Leverage, made me giggle. I don't know if you caught it. I don't even know if they intended to do it. It could have just been a line in the script that made sense. But because usually they write the script, then cast the actor, right?
Right.
He said, that's the end of your Leverage. And I laughed out loud. I'm like, I don't know if they meant to do that, but that was really funny coming from him.
Yeah, that's something we'll have to ask John at some point, because I thought maybe he ad-libbed it.
Maybe, but he also, I mean, I can't imagine him wanting to. Well, maybe I guess for longtime fans or something, like a little shout out. I don't know. That's fun. I'm kind of curious about that one. It's a stupid question to ask, but I have it.
Yep.
So Dixon offers up Kaplan without a second thought. Who offers up Red? I'm already lost. Who's offering up who? It's crazy. And apparently, this all leads to an island in a crappy box that Red has, and he offers to Dixon, and then rescinds the offer because that box is not meant for you, my friend. And
the box and the key and all that came out, and I was like, it was funny when Aaron said it all leads back to the island.
It all leads back to the island.
Not to mention that we had not only an island reference, so that's hashtag lost, and then we had Dixon, which is an hashtag alias reference.
Yeah, I didn't. That's Troy. That's where your mind goes.
It
My
does.
mind the island thing went there because it all leads back to the island for Troy. So it all goes wrong, of course. That's the way it goes. Kaplan is flipping on Red, and then there is basically a grand jury being convened. Aram's given an immunity deal. We're going to go through all that with the character stuff because the second hour is really more just about where the characters go for the finale and setting up the next season.
So
and
the one,
hang on, I got one more.
Okay,
I got
one
one
more
more line. Shut up.
Go ahead.
And Gavin's flipping on Red. We find out Liz needs to find Henry Prescott, which she does through this football player who used him. They end up like identifying him. That leads to Reverend Wright, who leads to Hitchens, who makes the deal, who gets him out of it. Everybody's free, and then Kaplan kills herself. Ressler kills Hitchens. There are dead people everywhere. Liz gets a DNA test from Cooper, who used a DNA sample of Red's, but not the Red that we know. Maybe, possibly, I don't know, because it came from some bloody clothes from 25 years ago or whatever.
30 plus.
So, what's that?
30 years plus.
Okay, 30 years plus, whatever. Came out from a while ago. So there you go. That's the ender. And then, of course, we end with them digging up the backyard and finding out, oh, snap, Tom is back, and he has the bones. Now, what was your question?
You forgot about the kiss.
The kiss?
The kiss.
Oh, yep. Saram had a kiss. Yep.
Ram is alive and well.
Mm-hmm.
No, so
They
my one
totally made out.
So my one question out of all of that from that first hour is when
That was both hours I just summed up, my friend.
That is true. That is true.
Okay.
From the first hour specifically, because we'll talk about the second hour with the characters. But the first hour, when Red says, "Yeah, we're going to meet at the waterfront at 5:00, and the war is going to end at 5:00," is that a lie or not a lie in that moment to Liz? Because he specifically said, "Liz, we're going to be here," and then Red doesn't show up, and then Liz is like, "What do you mean you're going to take this alone? And where are you? And you're not at the waterfront." So is that a lie in your mind?
Oh,
or is that a diversion of the facts?
Well, that'd still be a lie. I would call it a lie. Yeah. Oh, I'm trying to remember in my head what happened.
He was sitting in the car. He calls up Liz and says, "Okay, I have the meat."
But she called him on it. She knew that he was lying, that he wasn't going to be there.
But Red doesn't lie to Liz.
But
is this a lie, or
did he actually lie to her? Because I don't think he did, because she knew that he wasn't going to be where he said he was going to be.
That was my question. That's kind of how I interpreted it, is that she knew that he wasn't going to be there. So therefore, even though he said he was going to be there and then never showed up, really just confirms what Liz's suspicions were all along. So is that really a lie?
I don't know. It could. Are you talking about when he told them earlier or something, this waterfront thing? I don't remember him saying waterfront to Liz ever.
That was the whole, did you get a location? Yes, I got a location. 5:00 at the waterfront. Be there. The war ends tonight. Go to commercial. And then they're all getting ready to go meet up at the waterfront and put their Kevlar on at the lockers.
Maybe he changed his mind. I mean, that's an out. You can easily say that he just changed his mind. He decided to go a different way.
Okay. I just want to make sure it holds up. Red never lies to Liz, and clearly that was a blatant, you go here, I'm going to go here.
Yeah, could easily. That's how you can get around it. Put it that way.
Exactly. Okay.
Yeah. So,
all right.
I don't know. That's an interesting question to have, but that feeds into the Red never lies to Liz, right?
Exactly. So just got to make sure we get all of our building blocks in place.
There's ways around every theory everyone has.
There sure is.
Every single theory. Well, the writer said that he was not her dad. Well, I wouldn't consider Red, even biological, her dad. He's a biological blood father, whatever. And that to me isn't a dad. I wouldn't consider it my dad. I get it.
Right.
The person who raised you is your dad. I mean, it'd almost be an insult to adopted kids to say that that's not the case. So I totally get where they're coming from with that. What you gonna do?
Yep, exactly. I just want to see where your point was on that one.
I didn't really have one. You just made me make one up.
Well, you said well, you said you could get around it. So you're on the it's not a lie.
I think everything that happens in the show, everything that someone tells me is fact, I can get around. Put it that way. They do a very well structured job of setting things up so there are outs. I give them credit for that. That's hard to do, and it's hard to do it continuously because X-Files sure forgot how. But that's what I get.
This is why the English language is the hardest language to learn.
If they have in mind, look, I think they know exactly where they want to end, right? Like what the story behind the story is. And so that they know going in, they have to word things a specific way to dance around that topic. That's what I think always happens. And I think everything will be up for interpretation or debate. And as much as people want to point to the showrunner said this and the showrunner said that, John Bokenkamp, the show creator, he dances around every freaking thing. He doesn't give you a direct answer on anything. Everybody keeps saying, well, he said this. Go read it. He did not say that.
So
he dances. I mean, he's like Barishnikov in this thing.
Let's talk about John for a minute as a character. Because
John Bokenkamp?
Yes. Because when we were in Chicago at the C2E2 panel, we took some
Don't be a name dropper, Troy. Nobody likes name dropper.
No, but we were there. And one of the fans came up to ask a question, and the question was in regards to, come on, has nobody ever heard of a DNA test? Right? And the whole room is like, woo, yeah, thank you for asking that. And then John literally comes back with the quip, little beknownst to us, he comes back with the quip of, how do you know she didn't run one already? And the whole room was like, damn, ooh, And then here we get to this episode, and Liz literally turns to Cooper and says, no, I already ran one. And I was like, damn it, he gave us an answer without us even knowing he gave us an answer. Like, that's how smooth he is. I'm just saying. Smooth, sir. All
right. You done with your nose under your skirt? Let's go.
No, I'm just pointing it out that people are reading the EW articles and stuff. So he's giving clues away without even giving clues away.
He is, and he's also evading any direct questions. Like there's no tomorrow. Like he's under a CIA interrogation. Everybody, because we do this podcast, people will send links and stuff to articles, which is great. We appreciate it. But so many people have sent the EW interview that he did, and this is confirms. I'm like, it does not confirm anything. He just like the characters, he dances around every answer. So and all of them do really. But they are firm on a couple things. It feels like to me that Red never lies to Liz, and the paternity thing has been established. Like Daniel Knopf has said at least 50 times, and nobody wants to accept the answer.
Right.
And I totally agree with him. I think the answers are there. It's just a matter of we are a rabid fan community, and we just won't let some of this stuff go because I think I used the analogy last week. Like it's when the cops are on the trail of a murderer and they have their sights set on one particular person, they put blinders on to everybody else. It's like all of us fans with theories. Whenever we get a theory and we're stuck on that theory, we tend to only look at that theory. Everything leads back to that theory. And I see that with every fan, myself included. I see that with every fan I talk to. Troy sees nothing that doesn't lead back to his mother theory. And the imposter theory is the same thing. Which is the Red Reddington we see is not the Red Reddington. Everybody's theory, I think they get stuck on their theory, so everything leads to it. And I think the showrunners are very wise with that, and they play to that, which is fine. I mean, that keeps fans engaged. I get that. I'm a little tired of trying to keep up with those theories because, the more misdirection you give, the more there's a chance for really getting it wrong. So I don't like dancing with that. And I bring it for the third time. X-Files. They did the same thing, and then they came to a point where they lost their traction and completely blew everything. That's what I worry about. That's why it makes me nervous. But so far, they're dancing a fine line and doing pretty well. And I think people keep bringing up Jennifer and the other family and the Christmas Story.
And the house that blew up.
Yeah, and the house blew up. Not the movie Christmas Story, you know, Christmas Eve, the night of the, you know, night of everything. All that I think is still there. It's still in play. It's still a factor. But we've gotten so far away from some of it, people have forgotten it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I've talked to diehard fans that don't even remember the Christmas Eve story. That don't even remember that Red talked about a family and losing a family and what happened in this house that burned up. You know, there's a lot of things that people I think forget because it's been on for 4 years and you've got 22 episodes a season. That's a lot of TV to remember.
I also love the fact that people anchor on that Christmas Story like so heavily, and you have to remember that he's sitting in jail with Madeline Pratt, and Red is a criminal. Criminals are notorious liars. That story can be completely 100% BS. BS. It might have had some truth in it, right? Every one of little Red's little parables had, and that's why I like to call them parables, because I'm sure there is a grain of truth in every single story that he tells. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it is him trying to escape and get out, so that story can't be taken, you know, as fact, 100% ingrained fact. Like Cooper can tell me something, I'll believe it. That's fact. You know, he's an honest guy, right? Ressler could say something up until this season.
Up until his last episode.
Right, exactly.
I mean, now he's hiring cleaners. I don't know what to think about Ressler anymore, but he just got really interesting. I can tell you that.
But there's just so many things that people like, they're saying, well, because Lizzie remembered a Christmas tree in her memory, and it's like, well, it's a memory that's been tampered with. Nothing can be taken as fact unless you actually do science on it.
I do take a lot of that stuff as fact because I think that's them giving you bits of information, and oftentimes, now I will tell you, of all the fans I know, Troy is the one who rejects like anything the most. Because he's so obsessed with his theory, he forgets about every other possibility.
Oh no, I got them all written down here. I have ways
you got them written down, brother. But you always look for a way to come back to yours.
Well, so I have to.
You are totally. If there was a murder and I was a suspect, you would already have me convicted. That's what I'm saying, because that's how focused you are on that particular thing. Because
I have to make sure it still stands up. Because the minute I give up on it, it's like, oh, it's going to be heartbreaking. My wife even said when the show was over, and it's like, oh yeah, Red's the father. My wife was like, are you okay?
He would have been if he would have just said, okay, I am. You got me.
Exactly.
Or something like that. Instead of just, I'm just going to look stoically around. You know, if you need to leave, Lizzie. That's really all he said. I just want to point that out. That's all he said.
Broke is such a bad word. That's all it comes up with. That was great.
What is it? Illiquid?
Illiquid, yeah.
Boy. All right, let's get into the characters. Come on, tell us about the music, man.
All right. Fever from the Black Keys plays as Red and Dembe frantically try to get the crumbling Empire situation under control. As Liz and Samar chase down the messenger, that is Mario Dixon, we hear Battle Tapes Belgrade. Then Lou Reed's Vicious plays over Red, burning all of his aliases in the motel trash can. And then as Kaplan commits the ultimate sacrifice, we hear Drowning by Kevin Morby. And then to close out the episode, I thought was a fantastic song, Bloodstream by Stateless plays as Liz confronts Red about being her quote-unquote father and what it means to be family.
Can I just say, this little behind-the-scenes thing. Troy writes this part out just because you don't want to forget the song titles and the names. And when he wrote aliases, which is in the middle of a sentence, he capitalizes it because his brain won't let the TV show go.
That's very true. Very true.
Seriously. I'm just looking at it going, what? Why is aliases capital? It's not a reference to the show in any way, but he's still capital. That's cute.
I think it's short code in my computer. It does it automatically.
All right. Now we're going to move on to the regular characters. Let's start with Dom.
Woo!
Brian Dennehy returns. I love Brian Dennehy. I am a huge, huge fan. Oh, man, he was in so many movies I loved in the 80s. So, and 90s.
I hope he was playing the character the way he was playing the character, and that he looked a little bit more worse for the wear in this time that we saw him than we did back in, was it season 3? So hopefully his health isn't failing him. He looked a little rough when he came to the door. So
man.
Hopefully, I'm just saying, I love Brian Dennehy. I don't want him to be one of the ones that go. I mean, he looked a little bit rougher around the edges than last time.
Then stop talking about it.
I know.
Jesus, Jinx. What the hell's wrong with you? Anyway, we're gonna just ignore Troy because Jesus. He says, "My granddaughter's alive, and how could you lie to me?" Maybe he's actually an extension from his First Blood character, and he just got out of jail. You know what I mean? That was a long ride for him. My granddaughter's alive, and how could you lie to me? That was, I thought, a really intense moment. And that he keeps playing with him to a degree really feels like, could be blood.
Could be.
Mm-hmm. Could be daughter. Could be son. I still think there's a possibility. Maybe he's an uncle to Masha, but I don't know. We're going to get to that DNA test in a little bit.
I like the one that was floating around that they said that Dom might be Red's father. Potentially. But that was interesting, too.
Well, he said Katerina is his daughter.
Right.
And on the one episode that he was on before, so
which would make him the uncle then. Which goes back to your original theory. And then you would be right.
My original theory. Remember, well, nobody's right now. All right, we still got at least another year to find out who's right. Nobody can claim that they're right yet. Nobody. Well, I guess there's
John and John can, but
yeah, those guys can. You always come back. I thought that was hysterical. I laughed my ass off. I thought, you always come back. I'm like, he does. He really does. Red says he wishes he had been the person Dom wanted him to be.
Mm-hmm.
So who did he want him to be, and why did he want him to be? And of course, they dance around this one pretty well.
Yep, this is one of those lines where you can say, well, he wanted him to be an admiral that took care of his daughter, or just an upstanding citizen, or maybe he's just unhappy with a sex change and he just wanted him to be his little daughter. I mean,
see what I'm saying? This goes back to my long dialogue that I just had.
But again, it's like you said, the wording can go any which way you want. And I think that's something that's a testament to the writers of how well they can squeeze those lines in and just set the fandom fired in 10 different directions. It's great. Great writing. Great writing.
So I'm asking you, what's your opinion?
Well, I mean, it's like a dog to a bone. The first thing that popped in my head was like, oh, that's kind of funny. He always wanted a little daughter, and he didn't get the daughter that he wanted. That's funny.
See what I mean?
But then I write down the other ones.
Prosecution rests. I win.
All right, Mr. Crane.
Yeah, I'm just saying. That one can be taken so many different ways. It could easily mean, you're Masha's father. I want you to be the man that I expect my granddaughter's father to be like.
Yep.
Could mean you're my son. And maybe you're the imposter because you're my son. You took on the role of Raymond Reddington to look after Masha because she's your niece. And da-da-da-da. Could mean you're Katerina. There are so many different ways that could be taken, and I appreciate that they're still dangling that carrot in front of me.
Well, you appreciate it.
That's sarcasm.
You appreciate it for the. I was going to say you appreciate it for the fans, but you're a little bit tired of the dance.
I'm really tired of the dance, but the fans seem to lap it up, so just ignore me. But I love to see Dom. Anytime you can bring Dom back into it, that's fantastic. And I just love Brian Dennehy. I think he looked fine. Fine. I think he's got at least another 50 years in him. So don't listen to Troy. Troy's crazy. Laurel Hitchens, huh? When we first introduced to her, there's a lot of great dialogue in this one. So congrats to those guys. America's Most Wanted and Deputy Dog. That was all in the delivery.
I was all laughing at one.
Because I love Christine Lottie as it is, and I thought that delivery was just fantastic. But she has a real arc here, man. She comes back and she has loved rubbing Ressler's nose in all of his failings, which he's had quite a few this season, especially over her in the last few episodes. She plays back and forth with him, and that comes back to bite her across the face, literally, and she ends up dead. First she holds up her end because they find the bullet for Reverend Wright.
Well, first she has the great line that says, "No, I want to hear it from him. The Boy Scout doesn't give up their badge that easily."
She's right, though. I would have insisted on it too, because if Ressler doesn't say it, if he gives his word, I believe him, or I used to. Don't necessarily anymore, but you take him at his word. And the vibrator kind of gal thing it actually felt like, wow, I can't believe they actually said that in this show, because it felt kind of out of character, but I still laughed pretty hard, so I'm good with it.
Well, I mean, it goes back to the whole eat a peach concept too. I mean, they throw in those lines.
See, that was subtle. This was right on the button, and Red is usually the subtle kind of guy. I mean, it was kind of surprising to come from him, but I don't care. It's still funny.
I don't think he's very subtle anymore because of where his stance is in his organization. Yeah. He's just
desperate.
Going to throw anything out to make sure he can reclaim some of the wit that he used to be, because he's really been broken down at this point.
Obviously, he's shooting his account and he needs his money back. I mean, he's doing dumb stuff. He's He's acting like an American. He's just acting rashly.
Welcome
just
to
rashly.
our country.
Yep, there you go. So she holds up her end and does shut down the grand jury, and I love how she does it with force and glee. You know, she loves playing with Gale. Your career's not over just yet, so keep talking. But that was great. But then she ends up dead. Now, we're going to talk about how surprising it was that Ressler actually did something like that. But are you shocked that she's actually been... We did say we needed some casualties. We got a couple this episode. So what did you think about losing Hitchens?
I think that this is an interesting twist because you have Red, whose criminal empire is completely in shambles, probably doesn't have a penny to his name, and he was supposed to be the de facto, the kind of Cabal-ish leader. Mm-hmm. So because of that, you now have the person that's also kind of the Cabal-ish leader, or the tandem of them. One of them is now dead, but Red has no way to run the Cabal. So does the Cabal come back into the story in season 5? So I think it's a great way to set up future story. After the witty lines and language she had in this episode, I kind of am going to miss her character. I thought she was really spunky this week. And I thought maybe we'd see more of her next season.
Did you just say spunky?
Spunky.
Oh, my God. I'm just going to pretend like you didn't just say that as a grown-ass man. So I love Christine Lottie. I love Hitchens. I thought she was a worthy adversary. I was really bummed to see her go because every time she's on screen, I think she electrifies it. But much like Alan Hall does, sometimes you need to make those choices to carry the story forward. And the way it set up Ressler was good. It was great, actually. You're really taking the Dudley Do-Right of his personality and you're putting it at odds with everything. You're getting him a little closer to Red. So I think it was necessary, but I'm really sad to see her go. I do want to, you brought up the Cabal. And can we talk about that real quick? Because now that we're in the finale.
Sure.
Is it just me or was it all but forgotten this season?
I absolutely think it was all but forgotten this season. Once Red had the Cabal under his thumb, I think that took out one player from the boards. That's why they were kind of non-existent. He kind of made them sit in the background and controlled them from afar. That's why the Cabal didn't have to come back up into the story. But now that he's lost control, maybe the Cabal reaches back out again, and it becomes a new thread for season 5.
Oh, you think so, huh?
Well, maybe. I mean, it would make sense that the Cabal would disappear once Red had control. You know, once Red has control, he's like they're just sitting on the sidelines doing what Red tells them to do. And so they don't need to be in the story because the story is about people that come after Red, that come after Liz. So here the Cabal isn't coming after Red and Liz anymore because Red's in control.
Right, but
now that Red's not in control, who knows? Maybe they come back up again.
You would think he would use the Cabal to try to end this, though. And I don't think it ever came up that I recall.
Maybe he couldn't.
But maybe we should know that. That's what I'm saying. I felt like that was there were so many other things going on. I think that was almost put on the back burner, like forgotten about.
But in a sense, he did hire the Cabal. He hired Laurel to end it. Now, was that hiring Laurel as the Cabal member, or was that hiring Laurel as the executive president?
Let's be clear. He didn't hire
framed her. Sorry.
Yeah.
Framed her. But he did use the relationship with the Cabals and Laurel's tie to them to make this thing go away, the grand jury. So in a sense, it's there, but not blatantly like you want it. Because you just want all your answers. You want to just all paint it out nice and pretty.
That's not true. That's not true.
Because you don't want to dance anymore.
I love mysteries, and I'm fine with that. Set up new questions. I'm the dance that the only dance I'm tired of is is he the dad? Is he not the dad? Is he the dad? Is he not the dad? Because literally people are getting all excited about this moment, and I'm like, that's pretty much the same thing you got excited about at the fall finale. It's really not much different. So that dance is what I'm tired of. Not the overall mystery, not everything that happened that night. I don't even know everything that happened that night. Just put the parentage to bed, man. That's the dance I'm tired of.
Well, they did. They put it to bed.
Did they?
They did.
They didn't. They didn't. It's the same thing that happened in the fall finale. There's enough there that makes you go, but is he? Because that's what everybody's saying. Everybody's doing Scooby-Doo. Huh? You know, that's what everybody's doing because he doesn't acknowledge it. He doesn't say yes. He doesn't say no. If he would have said either one of those things, we could have moved on from that to a degree. But neither one of those. That's the stuff. Okay, it's 4 seasons. I'm over that. I don't think that mystery that's not the important part of any of it. Now, I think they've already answered this question, but I'm just saying, looking at it from fans' perspective, the fans that I interact with, that's what they get frustrated with.
All right.
They love the show, but that seems to be an overwhelming factor for many fans, not just me. That one's a factor for many fans.
So we said we're going to wait to debate it till the end. So let's keep going.
Yeah, but it keeps coming up because it keeps coming up in the show. Let's put it to bed. Gale comes clean to Ressler, makes a deal with Rom and Kaplan, and loses all the way around. Red meets up with Gale at the end, has a nice little chat.
I like that meeting. That was nice.
What did you like most about it?
Well, just the fact that he knows that Gale's been pursuing him as part of the task force before he turned himself into the FBI. So he knows who Gale is and aware of who Gale is. So the fact that they actually do meet face to face and have this like reminiscing moment, I thought that was kind of nice. It opens up a whole new arc or character story. It's the arc that we thought Ressler was going to be on for the majority of the show, right? Even though he's part of the task force, maybe he would expose Red from inside. And so it's nice to have that kind of come back around again full circle to season 1, where Ressler was all pissed off that they were helping Red after chasing him all those years. Now we have a guy who can legitimately do that. And I think that poses some interesting stories.
Kenny, though, I mean, Ressler quickly points out, how you're feeling right now, that's where I was. And maybe Gale's going to come along the same path. Maybe he'll be even more easily corruptible. Maybe he just seems like he won't be right now. I don't know. It's an interesting character, but I'm glad that they have an adversary. I think it's important in the show. And yes, Ressler has kind of become he's more an ally than anything. He's not really keeping them in check like he used to. In fact, Cooper's not even keeping them in check like he used to.
Well, because I think Cooper and Ressler have that same thing where they understand that, yes, where I may not be following the letter of the law anymore, I am actually doing real good because these are some really, really bad people we're taking off the board. And it is making the world safer. So in a way, I mean, you can maybe kind of close an eye to the way you're doing it, but
Nope. This is the criminal justice major in me that's gonna come out. We've had this discussion on the show before. I take the law portion very seriously. You've got an informant, that's great. It's a great deal. But there are times where they're basically just doing his bidding. That's not. No, you don't do that. I don't care how.
That's the TV part. You have to let that slide.
I know it's the TV part, but I get where Gale's coming from. I'm totally on that dude's side. Like, some people hate him because he's going after Red, and I get it because you're a fan of Red Reddington. But in terms of actually following the letter of the law, yeah, they could probably all go to jail, even Aram, because they're facilitating that. I'm glad that the show actually introduced that, because I felt like that was being TVized to a degree, where we're just skimming over that. We're not going to pay it any attention. Hey, it's TV. We can. But the fact that it was acknowledged made me very happy, because that was a stick in my craw a little bit, and they resolved it, which is good. It's good, because it is. They can't do that. They can't. The informant works for the government. The deal is with the government. Now, it could be by his own. He can make his own rules. That's fine to a degree, but they're not going to facilitate his crimes. That's just, you can't do that. And they've done that, I don't know how many times, like repeatedly. So I'm glad they got called to the carpet on it, at least. And they have a character that seems to be on the side of right, which is good.
For now.
On the side of Reverend Right. Damn it, Janet. She came back. She's a total mole again, though. So we're just starting to like her.
Mole's a little strong. It's not like she was subpoenaed by a grand jury. A grand jury, you testify the truth because you don't want to go to jail. And especially if she has a rap sheet, she's going to do whatever she can to save herself first. I mean, you'd totally do that. You'd sell me out in a heartbeat. So I wouldn't say she's a mole, but I would think that she would understand the relationship she has with Aram, that she messed up once, that she would have at least tried to, not blindside Aram at the end of the day.
I would follow the letter of the law, but I would also demand a lawyer before I said anything or made any deal. And then, yeah, I mean, to be fair, she has offered the deal of a lifetime. We will expunge your criminal record. And so what are the options? And I get that Samar's like, no, I know for sure I wouldn't have done it. I'm like, man, I get it. I get where Janet's coming from. Let's cut her some slack. She's she doesn't know these people. She does get a Rama deal. I mean, really, she's like, she knows he gets immunity, so she's okay with that because he's safe. She doesn't care about everybody else. I don't blame her. She's out to save her own ass. She doesn't have a loyalty there. So people are kind of like jumping all over Janet. And I'm like, I'm not really that mad at Janet. I get it.
I'm mad that she lied to Aram because you know how Aram feels about people lying to him. And so she got caught in a lie, and so she deserves everything she got from Aram when that relationship finally ended.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah.
So Red deserves to lose everything because he lies to everybody else.
Exactly right.
Okay. Just making sure you're on the page, through and through.
That we've always said that at the end it would be kind of like the show can't have a happy ending, right? It just can't.
Well, it can for Liz and for the other characters. It shouldn't for Raymond, I don't think.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think it will. I think you're going to see a little Breaking Bad ending, but that's just my opinion. I don't know. Maybe they have a way worked out where everybody gets away and they get to that island, and Jack shows up. So, do you think we're going to see Janet next season? Think she's going to come back?
She could. I mean, it's open, right? She could always come back and work for a different division of the government, or some criminal thing picks her back up again because she goes into a depression because she ruined a relationship with Aram. I mean, there's stories that you could do there, but I think maybe she's probably not long for the Blacklist world. Not like dead, but just not. It'd have to be an interesting story to bring her back in again.
Okay. I'm kind of curious where they go. I think she could be an agent or something, so sure, she could come back. I don't think she's going to come back as his lady friend.
Oh no, they can't go back to that well again. That's over.
Yeah. All right. So Samara, speaking of, she knows Janet flipped on Aram, but she doesn't tell him because she finds out that she makes him happy. What do you think about that?
I think that's very. This is Samar being, maybe a little bit more aware of it's not so black and white sometimes. She was very much like in season 2, like the black and white character, and we're doing it this way, and very hard and cold. And this is her understanding a little bit more of getting in touch with her feelings and relationships. And for her to finally say, you know what, if this is what he wants, then there's nothing I can do about it. So who am I to mess that up, right? Because then I would just be like one of those whiny, typical girls that try to weasel their way back into relationships when they know that it's over. So I like that this plays with her character perfectly. I think this is where she is in her journey. So I loved it. I thought it was fantastic that she's just like, I fed your turtle. It's good. I'll keep helping you where I can.
I was so happy somebody was feeding that poor turtle. I felt bad. I liked why she did it, the reasoning behind it, but I still wish she would have told Aram so he was aware. I just feel like that's one of those I get where she's coming from, but I mean, this is an important thing you need to know, I think.
You got to remember though, Samar is calculating. She's a spy in a lot of ways.
Oh, so she's planning on him kissing her. That's the whole plan?
No. She's saying Janet isn't smart enough to understand that I'm literally going to come in here, not tell him anything, and then she's going to hang herself. So she's literally leaving that leash out there for Janet to hang herself. I don't think so. That makes her seem like she manipulated the situation. I think she did it for the right reasons. It just didn't. It just worked out in her benefit. That's what I think. That's what I hope it was. But it does work out too. If she's like, because she is calculating and crafty like that. I suppose she is. And they end up, well, you know what? We'll hold off on what happens until we get to Aram. So, commercial break. Come on. Yep. Stinger. It'll be after the credits. All right. So Cooper, slippery moral slope my ass. You're breaking the law. You flat out breaking the law. Evidence. Yeah. All right. So anyway, Cooper has a nice little bitch session with Panabaker and finds out that he won't be able to protect him, which I think we saw that coming. It's I feel like Panabaker's really throwing everybody under the bus a little bit. Well, do we think that this puts a nail in the coffin of Cooper's going to Panabaker's house for some poker and other action that we were talking about back in the day? No, maybe they can separate, I mean, not everybody needs to have a romantic life on the show, but if they're going to, why not? Yeah, I think they could make amends. Well, that was one of those theories that was running around, right? They're going to hook up. Going home to some people that I love, and he's been going to poker and... Because Charlene, I'm sorry, I'm 12. Because Charlene hasn't been mentioned in forever, right? So she's got to be out of the picture. Right. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm sorry, did I lose you? No, you didn't realize you said it, did you? I can't believe I'm 12 myself. Maybe I didn't make myself clear, but we are going to get arrested. Good. I'm glad somebody acknowledges that they're going to get arrested. So what he does, he finds Red's old bloody shirt for DNA, and we'll come
back to the DNA because that has more to do with Liz than it has to do with him.
From 30 plus years ago.
Yeah, from 30 plus years ago. And he tells a story about Sea Duke. Okay? Remember the Sea Duke story? This is a new story. Yeah. I don't think we've heard this one before.
This Russian operative of some kind.
Yeah, so he's the Golden Boy. He's fresh out of the Navy, and Red is shadowing an operative working counterintelligence, a Russian named Sea Duke. Now, when they find out that Red is doing this, they capture him. For 10 days, they torture him, and it was his job to secure the physical evidence. Blood on the shirt was then secured for 3 decades. Who do you think Sea Duke is? Because you know that's an important point. So who do you think Sea Duke is? Do you think Red is Sea Duke?
Well, that would be an interesting twist. I didn't even think about that. Oh, that's kind of cool.
Because not everybody, a lot of people have this imposter theory that, and for people that don't know it, because a lot of people, don't spend their time on message boards and that kind of stuff. They just watch the show and then listen to the podcast and that's it. The imposter theory is that, well, you could probably recap it better, but the imposter theory is basically that the person we're seeing on the show is not actually the real Raymond Reddington. It's someone else. Not that he's not related to Masha and Liz. I think the fact that some people are saying that maybe Liz is Jennifer, I think that is firmly established that she is Masha.
Yes.
And that is a done deal. I don't see any way around that, honestly. But there is some debate as to maybe this Raymond Reddington is not the Raymond Reddington. What do you think about that? And they took the blood from the real Raymond Reddington's clothes 30 years ago. Not from this Raymond Reddington. That's the point of fact.
Yeah, this is where the date stuff all comes into play, right? It's the 1990 is when he disappears. 1994 is when he comes back into the world. Everything that they have on him is from 1994. We just have this fuzzy picture that we went on as part of the task force. Everything, the tattoos and stuff, matches everything we know about him after 1994. So everything that the FBI knows about Raymond Reddington as the number one most wanted criminal is after 1994. The only people that know anything about Reddington prior to 1990 is people like Cooper and his naval guy and all these other people. So in this particular case, they're getting a shirt that would be somewhere from around 1987, maybe a couple years earlier. So this could be about when he meets up with Katerina for the first time. Raymond Reddington, the American, meets up with Katerina the first time because Liz would have been born. This is where it gets a little timey-wimey a little bit, because in order for her to be 4 years old at the point of the Christmas fire, assuming it is a Christmas fire, then that would be like December 1989, and then there's a couple weeks that pass that Katerina's on the run before Katerina disappears, which would make it 1990, when Red would technically go off the grid. But the wanted poster from season 3 has Liz being born in 1984, which would make then her almost 5 years old when she gets to 1989. So there's a little bit of a weirdness there. But all that to be said, this particular shirt, DNA, is from the 1980s before Red disappears. So this is the original Raymond Reddington who was involved with this Sea Duke character and all in intelligence. Now, what I got from this was that Cooper himself wasn't actually a face-to-face person with Reddington at that moment. So this was something like it almost seemed like Cooper was doing this evidence collection and stuff from afar. So I don't even know if Cooper technically saw who Reddington was in this moment. If Cooper
at that point,
if Cooper and Reddington knew each other, it was before this incursion, this particular operation. So maybe the Kuwait thing happens before this operation specifically.
Well, that would mean that he did know him because they worked together in Kuwait.
But that means that Cooper knew the original Raymond Reddington. If you believe the imposter theory or the mother theory, which is a branch of the imposter theory.
So you mean that he would be in on it?
Not that he would be in on it, that he physically knows Raymond Reddington, the American, prior to 1990.
Which would mean that he would know if this Raymond Reddington was the real deal or not, like I've always said.
The only way he would know is if he actually did a physical DNA test on this specific Raymond Reddington.
Or if he met him.
But we've already established that he can basically be made to look like the other Raymond Reddington through The Alchemist.
Well,
down to the DNA.
Yeah, down to the DNA doesn't mean that he looks just like him. They look similar. Go look at anything that The Alchemist did. Nobody looked exactly the same. So they all look similar. So if you've actually met him, I just don't buy that. I'm sorry, and I've always said that. I don't buy if Cooper actually spent time with him, which he did allude to. Now, it's possible that he didn't meet him until after this, so maybe he was switched before he met him and then the Kuwait thing happened. That's possible, right?
Yeah, because we never got a time frame as to when Kuwait happened.
Yeah, that's possible. But they have definitely worked together. Some people were saying that they've never worked together. They did definitely work together in Kuwait. That's been alluded to several times. The extent to which we don't know, and there's probably 45 holes people can poke in it, and honestly, I don't have time to go through every freaking option. So I'm just going to go with
unless the Kuwait thing, because I did watch that season 2 opener again where they have that conversation about the file that he had on Kuwait, and I'm trying to remember the exact wording, but maybe this is a wording thing. Maybe it's the, our time in Kuwait. Well, maybe they were in Kuwait together, but they weren't together. Maybe he was doing mission A and Cooper was doing mission B, and it's literally the unit's involvement in Kuwait versus them.
To me, that would be more of let's just take the audience for a ride and misdirect them, and I don't like that. Because they have basically painted the picture that they did work together at one time. To do anything like you're suggesting would be kind of, I would consider an insult. To me, that's how I would take it. Because
they could work together but never actually see each other. Like, I work with a lot of people at my company and I've never seen them face to face. It's all over email because they're in a different country.
I was in the military, man. You do know who the people you're working with are. You might not talk to them all face to face, but you know who they are. You know what they look like. You know them. So
pictures, photographs in the directory, which isn't really up close face to face where you can detect them.
I'm telling you, if there's a mission, they were briefed and they had been most likely, and well, I guess counterintelligence, there's a possibility. There are ways around it. I don't necessarily buy them, but hey, to each their own.
Yep.
Like I said, people have their theories, and the evidence is always going to lead them toward whatever their theory they lean on.
But Sea Duke being someone that would have killed the original Raymond Reddington and then taken over for him, because that's the whole our country, your country, your government stuff. That's a really great one. I like that.
Well, the alchemist couldn't have changed DNA then, though, because the guy is like 30 years old in the episode we see him. So he would have been a kid, or he would have been Liz's age, really. It
would have been 20. If Raymond's 56 or whatever it is right now, then that would have been 26.
I'm saying he couldn't have changed his DNA way back then. So the DNA from that shirt would have to be the real Raymond Reddington.
Well, how do you know that he didn't get it from his father? Passed down, criminal organizations, family secret.
Now you're making it fringe science, and it's ridiculous. So that's why. That's too far into the supernatural versus science to me. That's not real science. That's fantasy.
But at the same time, if Red knows about the alchemist, right, in order to take him out in season 1, then that means he had to have been involved in the criminal empire, which means he still would have been a kid while Red was building his criminal empire and stuff.
Possible. So I'm saying the DNA thing, if and then you're getting into just like, hey, look, we created a loophole for ourselves. Not necessarily a loophole, because if you build it in season 1, I guess that's a predetermined course of action.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yes, that can work to a degree.
They're establishing rules in season 1, and you wouldn't have an episode about DNA changing capability if it wasn't part of the mythology. Potentially.
Right. To a degree. The one thing I don't buy is that you can change chromosomes. And chromosome will show up in a DNA test. So if they run a test, they'll know if it's a man or a woman. That, you got 2 X's or an X and a Y. It's really easy.
The only person that's run that test is Liz, and she threw it away.
Well, they just said that they ran the blood from the real Raymond Reddington and went it against Liz. Now, I promise you, if you run a DNA test, it's pretty easy to tell if it's a man or a woman. So if she sees that he's her father, I have no indication to believe that could possibly come from actually Katarina.
Well, that was, again, from the Raymond Reddington from 30 years ago. No one's run a DNA
I just
test
said that.
on this
That's
person.
what I said like 5 times.
Well, yeah.
I said that from the shirt, that was the shirt was definitely from Raymond Reddington. She is 100% Raymond Reddington's daughter in my mind.
Yes.
Now, the only question is this person the real Raymond Reddington? That's the question.
And that DNA test was run, but thrown in the garbage.
Yeah, which, A, really stupid, really dumb. B, I wouldn't trust a DNA test that came from something 30 years ago. I would run another one personally.
And specifically, now that she has this DNA test from 30 years ago, assumes that this guy is her father, then now she has no reason to rerun the DNA test on this current person standing in front of her. because
True.
she's like, nope, you're my dad. I'm good. Let's move on.
True.
We're family. Let's go beat up people and steal stuff.
So it's possible that maybe the Sea-Duke person took on the role of Raymond Reddington. It's possible that Sea-Duke is actually Katarina. There's a lot of possibilities here.
Yep.
And I think they left it pretty open to interpretation. I think naming it Sea-Duke kind of alludes to it. I don't know. Duke feels more like a guy's name, I guess, which could be the throwing the scent off. I don't know.
Or maybe it was just spelled in the closed captioning as Sea-Duke, and it actually is spelled differently in Cyrillic or Russian.
I don't know. That's possible, sure. So that's where we've got with that. Well, you spend more time on that than I really cared for. Aram is subpoenaed by the DOJ and given immunity to testify. We talked about that. And he's barely hanging on after being locked up because he's refusing to cooperate. Are you surprised that he refused?
No, not at all. This is very much his character. You know, I was worried at first. I thought maybe he would cooperate because he's also the rule. You know, I'm not going to break the rules. I'm going to follow the letter of the law. I have to testify. It's the right thing to do. But then when he told the task force, you know, hey, I've been part of this grand jury, then you're like, okay, well, no, he's not going to follow the rules. He's gonna break it. So that's good. Mm-hmm. Perfect.
Mm-hmm. Same here. When he finds out Janet flipped, this is the big moment, right? I mean, Aram doesn't get a whole lot. It seemed like he had more to do, and then I rewatched the episode a second time. I'm like, well, he really doesn't have much, but what he does is a lot for viewers.
Yes,
you know, it's a lot of
powerful
story stuff. Yeah. So after he finds out Janet flipped and Samar knew, he confronts her, and he finally does a bold thing. Mm-hmm. Once he sees that she actually did come more to the middle and more to the gray side, he actually kisses her, and I'm kind of surprised by that.
And she kissed back.
Oh, she did. I was afraid it was going to be one of those quick kisses to where then they break apart, and I'm like, oh, that doesn't mean they're together next season. But then they went back, and she's like, oh yeah, I'm into this.
Yep.
So, oh yeah. Were you happy?
Yeah, I did. I did a little fist pump. I was like, all right, we finally got an answer to that one. We can move on. No more dancing around that relationship for another season.
Yeah, it's funny. My wife was watching it because she watched it when I rewatched it. I had already seen it, and the things that she got most excited about had nothing to do with Red and Liz. It was Aram and Samar, and it was Ressler's turn. Like, the other thing, she's like, I thought we already knew this. I'm like, apparently we didn't. I don't know. We needed to reinforce this one, the daddy thing. But, she, you know, the whole Ressler thing really shocked her. Like, she had to rewind that. She couldn't believe that happened.
That is a big twist. I did not see that one coming.
So let's move on to that. So even when he kills people, his hair doesn't move. I just want to point that out. Hair stayed perfectly still.
He didn't kill her. It was an accidental death.
Yeah, that's still that's involuntary manslaughter.
There's a difference. States. He could come back in there to get his badge, pull out his gun, peg her between the eyes, and call it a day. Or he could have come in and could have strangled her, or 10 different ways he could have taken her out. I think that if Ressler would have came in and murdered her physically, straight up, that's a different twist of the character. But in this case, he does a backhanded slap, which is also not that cool. Like, you never hit a woman. But at the same time, it was an accident that she just happened to fall the way she fell and hit her head on the wall. So then he's like, oh crap, what am I going to do about this? Well, the only thing I know how to do is call this guy who can take care of the problem and make it go away. And
that's when he becomes a murderer.
Yes.
So he is a murderer. I want to be clear about that. If you call a cleaner, you're a murderer. You're complicit it's a crime now, even if it was an accident before. So yeah, he's a murderer. Nobody can dance around that one. You can frame it all you want. Donald Ressler killed her because he covered it up. That makes you murder. That's just how the law works, man. It's his own fault. And he knows how the law works. He's got a degree and everything.
But it wasn't in cold blood, which is different. There's the degree of...
It was still in anger.
It was in anger. But he didn't go in with intent to kill.
No, he went in with some Ike Turner sensibility. That's what he did.
Right.
And not cool, Donald. Not cool. But... surprising twist, man. I love that twist. Because I did not, honestly, never even thought about it. I thought it was going to be like a confrontation or something, and he was going to throw something back at her and have no way to back it up, and then he just threw his fist back at her, or I'm sorry, the back of his hand.
Yeah.
It's no different to me. Same thing. And she died, man. Very uncool.
I was waiting for Prescott to be like, you got in an argument, and then she went up to the roof. You didn't know she was distraught.
I like how he looked at her like, oh, or looked at like Donald like, oh no, not her. I mean, she's one of my biggest clients.
Well, he also was like, "Oh, you're screwed, dude," because she's like number one to the president.
How do you feel about Ressler going into next season? Do you think he'll tell anybody about this? Do you think he'll go back to pills or what?
This is the one that's kind of interesting when you move into next season because he could just not say anything, and eventually it's going to come up, right? This is right hand to the president. Laurel Hitchens dead. Everybody's going to be like,
literally.
They're literally going to be like, Ressler, what the heck did you do? And Ressler's going to be like, I didn't do anything. So, I mean, that'll be an interesting thing to explore about how well he can dance for the next, 8 to 10 episodes.
How do you think it's going to affect people? I haven't seen much conversation about it, but I have seen a couple people that weren't happy that the way it happened. Do you think Donald, the Ressler, the character himself, is going to take some flack for how he killed her? Backhanding a woman kind of thing?
Well, again, it's the backhanding that's the question. Like, I was like, Donald, that's not you.
Well, it's more reflex, though. I mean, I get it. It's not, it wasn't like he was, I'm putting you in your place, kind of, or some macho BS that some angry men did. Well, it was more like she was coming after him and he reacted. And
that's what I was trying to go. I tried to go back and watch to see if it was more like a reflex thing. Like he was trying to like
reflex thing.
Push her hands off of him kind of thing. And he just connected.
That's what happened. That's what I saw.
Yeah. Because I don't know if he specifically set out to strike her, but I couldn't tell. I mean, it happened so fast. Like you could say he struck her or he was just trying to get her hands off of him so he could get out the door.
That one.
Yeah. That's what I'm hoping it is because I don't think Ressler would be that kind of person. But you never know. In a fit of rage, he's already pissed off about, Revan and the Tommy Markin. And
hey, we've all been there, man. Guys, girls, bad breakup. You're trying to leave. They won't let you go. And you're like, man, stop. Get off me. And only this time, she hit her head on the floor.
The corner of the wall, right?
Yep. This is why you break up over the phone or a text. That's why that's the classy way to do it. Just saying. So I'm really curious how next season happens or goes because that was really shocking to me. I
mean, I know you hate the pills thing, but man, this is something
I do not want the pills to come back. I do not want that to come back. I don't like it.
But this is something in his life that'd be tragic enough that he could go back to there.
Don't care. I don't no more. I don't it's a personal thing. I don't like drug abuse being used as like hey, look, we're going to put this character you already did that with that. So we got to go a different direction, I feel. And I honestly don't think they're going to. I think they already got that message. I think the viewers were pretty clear on that storyline wasn't working for them. I don't know anybody who enjoyed that run of the character when that happened. So I don't think they're going to go back to that well.
Because it didn't really have a place. Now it technically could have a place.
Oh my God. No, it doesn't. Really. Yeah. That place is pissing me off again, I guess. You could go with that. But I don't think so. I don't think they're going to do that. I think it's going to be more of now you have Ressler questioning his own moral code. I mean, now he's really on a moral slope because he's officially a murderer. He is in Red's camp.
Yep.
Now, I don't think Red knows about it, but you can be Ressler assured that if Red finds out, he's going to use that to his benefit.
100%.
As leverage, maybe? Mm-hmm. So that'll be cool. I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes. All right, Kaplan. Oh, man. Kaplan has an eye for crime. You see what I did there?
Double entendre.
Seriously. Her plan was the best plan so far in the series. I mean, all of this. And I like when Liz does the recap and kind of goes, oh, yeah, she had a really good plan, or the writers did. I thought that was great. Some of her quips were pretty good this episode. Run, just standing here makes my head flare. I thought that was really good. But
I'm not getting any younger.
Yeah, I'm not getting any younger. Through the course of the episode, you get a lot more of her character. Now, she tries to flip because she realizes that's her last play, and that doesn't work out. So what she does is she goes to this tree, and I'm going to explain the situation.
On a farm.
On a farm, yeah. Where my wife actually said, is this where her and her girlfriend were at one point? Do you remember that? Is that true?
I don't think so.
Okay.
She got there by bus. It wasn't like she was on a bus going all the way back down to Amarillo. That'd be a long-ass bus ride. Kaplan wouldn't travel that way.
Just asking. She finds a K carved into a tree. Says, I'm sorry, Katerina. She says that.
All right, hold that thought there. Because I literally wrote down a whole bunch of stuff in that moment. So
goody.
This is one of these writer timey-wimey things, right? This could mean I'm sorry, Katerina. I failed you. I'm sorry, Katerina. You left me no choice but to expose you. Or, I'm sorry, Katerina, for digging up your specific bones and desecrating your grave. So literally that I'm sorry, Katerina could go 3 different ways.
It could go more than 3 different ways. There's a lot of different ways it could go.
Those are the 3 I came up with.
Gotcha. So she says that, she digs it up, and what we come to find out is something she puts in that suitcase. Or maybe it was already in a suitcase, I don't know.
It was in the suitcase in the ground, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm assuming, but we didn't actually see her dig it up. So we just saw her take out the shovel. Now we see a suitcase, so I don't know.
Well, Red says to Dembe at the end, right? We got to find that suitcase. Or we got to find that case.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yep.
Okay. And then when she gets Liz in the car, I swore an oath to your mother that I'd keep you safe, and I feel like I failed you. I could show you the truth. I could. I loved Raymond and your mother. I love them both. Sure, you can take it different ways, and I'm sure you will, Troy. Shoots Boz, who, by the way, I originally thought shot him in the arm, shot him in the chest.
It was in the chest, yep.
It was in the chest.
In the heart.
Now, the writers, I guess, on Twitter confirmed that he died.
John confirmed that he died in the EW article.
Oh, he did?
Yes.
So Boz is dead.
Boz is dead.
Well, I always say if it doesn't happen in the show, it didn't happen. So I'm just saying, if you want to bring him back, I won't be mad.
That's what he also said in the article about Kaplan, right? He said, at this point, you have to assume she's dead. If there's a cool way that we could write her back in, I mean, we'd love to, obviously, but yeah, for right now, she's dead. So
I don't think the show can do another fake death. That's for sure.
No,
it's kind of hard to do it. Plus, when she hits the water, man, her body's floating almost immediately.
Which was weird, wasn't it? Like, if you land in the water, don't you go down a little bit first and then kind of float back up? It seemed a little bit too
the
quick.
only argument I could say is that she's a small person, and she's not a big lady. She's not tall. She's not wide. She's a small person. So when she hit the water, that could take a harder effect on her body than, say, like myself or Red. You know what I mean?
Oh, so she sprawled out. So when she hit, it was literally like hitting concrete because there wasn't as much surface area to break through.
Because for her body, it was she's smaller. So therefore,
this is what we do in our spare time. We break down.
Yeah, how far can you fall before it feels like concrete? I've tried this. I've jumped off a cliff in Hawaii. I'm telling you, you can go pretty far without it feeling like that. So I was kind of surprised that happened. But
and if she
the bridge was up pretty high too.
Yeah, if she did sailor dive, which it looked like she did from the shot. Granted, that's just the way they dumped the dummy over the side, but it looked like a sailor dive. And if she hits that water with her head, I mean, her head's already pretty traumatized. So yeah, she's dead.
What did you call it? I'm a sailor. I was a sailor. What are you talking about? Sailor dive.
Sailor dive. That's when you literally put your hand.
That's what you civilians call it, huh?
Yeah.
When sailors jump in the water. Huh. You know what we call it? Oh no, the ship's going down.
No, the sailor dive is the when you put your hands at your side and you just fall over head first.
I don't think that's our technical term, but again, I was in the Navy a long time ago, so maybe they've changed it.
I don't know.
Sounds like something you civvies do.
But yeah, she has to be dead because the whole point of that scene is the sacrifice. Like, I am sacrificing myself for the truth to come out. Therefore, if she's alive or comes back alive, it cheapens that moment. That decision.
Yeah, because our secret at Tansy Farms. Now that we find out what it is, and we'll get there. But that was it's kind of interesting. She went there, dug it up, and she's going to give it to her. Now, I want to ask you, she says, I loved you, Raymond, and she jumps. Was that what you were expecting? How did you expect this episode to end? And did it end satisfactory for you?
Well, I mean, the whole time before the episode, I'm like, oh, they're gonna resolve their differences. Something's gonna happen with Gale, and that's gonna make Kaplan and Red have to team back up. That's kind of where I was. And then as the episode goes on, I'm like, oh, nope, she is dead as a doornail. There's no way she's getting out of this. She's even preparing her affairs because she knows she's going to die. I never thought she would pitch herself into the ocean.
Yeah, well, I mean, she wanted him to shoot her, so.
What a fitting way that she pitches herself into the ocean if that's exactly how Katerina did end up dying.
Yep.
Poetic moment.
And can we just give a round? Nice job, Susan.
Woo!
Great job. If this is, which I assume, maybe she'll come back in a flashback or something.
You could say it was her swan song. Or swan dive.
Yeah. Okay. This is nice dad joke. Good job. It's almost Father's Day, so glad you brought that one up.
You bet.
But we just want to say great job, Susan, because we don't know if she's coming back to the show or not, but she did a fantastic job. And she's really been, I think, the best adversary that Red has had so far in the series.
Oh, by far.
Yeah.
Leaps and bounds.
better than Berlin, better than
The director.
just better than anyone. She's really just been phenomenal. And this has been a really exciting run. So, yeah, really, really enjoyed it. And I'll be honest, like the first half of the season was kind of up and down. You know, it's kind of like, But this back half has been fantastic. So they really
Amped
shored
it
the
up.
ship.
Yes, it did.
Yeah, it was really good. Now, before we move on, I got to say one thing. You ready?
Ready.
This is just Aaron. So this is just my opinion. I'm not speaking for anyone. But Huffington Post, you sons of bitches, they ran an article on Susan, which is great. It was a really nice article. But whoever in their title department decided to title it Susan Blomert, TV's most lethal geriatric badass. Why was geriatric necessary? Because I just, it's such a negative connotation. I thought it was rude. I thought it was not correct. I mean, you and I both, not to name drop again, we both met Susan. She's a lovely person, and she's just as active as we are, honestly. So I hate that they actually put that on there and made the age a factor. It wasn't even necessary, and especially that word wasn't necessary. I just thought it was really crappy.
Yeah, I scrolled across that and I was like, literally at my desk, I was like, what? Everybody's like, what happened? And I was like, oh, nothing.
Yeah.
So I was trying to scan through it. I was like, oh my God.
I was so
why would you say
excited.
that? Rude.
I was
just
so
rude.
excited she got that cover, like she got that exposure, because she's been an actress for a long time, and I think we're gonna have her on the show, I believe. I don't know if it's 100% confirmed, but we're trying to get Susan on the show, so definitely make sure you subscribe. And she deserves the exposure. She's earned it. This has been a great run for her. I just thought that one word, it really pissed me off.
It did.
I guess
It did.
Really, yeah. Just wanted to say that, just in case some Huffington Post workers listen to the podcast because you're also Blacklist fans. That was a bitch move. That's what I'm saying. Okay, so moving on to Liz. It is proud and ashamed, I believe is what she said.
Yep.
About their actions.
Yeah, I agree with Ram and I agree with Ressler. I'm proud and ashamed. Yep.
Convinced they either rise together or fall apart. She knows Red played them, and she lies to Cooper at one point. How did you feel about that? Because she knows Red is not going to be where they think he's going to be.
Well,
You know what I'm talking about?
yeah,
the
well,
drop, the waterfront thing.
It goes back to did she really know or did she assume she knowed? And
No, she knew at that moment. I rewatched that a couple times. At that moment, she knew Red was not going to be there.
Yeah. I was okay with it because I think she's trying to figure things out herself, right? She knows that Kaplan's important to her, so she doesn't want anything to happen where Kaplan's life will be put in danger because Kaplan's the one person that can tell her the truth. I mean, she kind of goes through that, right? All these people, the only person I have left is Red, when she's talking to Cooper later on. So, and apparently Cooper doesn't care if Liz pisses him off because he always takes her back, doesn't have any conversations about her, doesn't say, you lied to me. Just like, oh yeah, I did this for you because I love you like a daughter. So, It's fine. I think she was just doing what she needed to do to get the answers she needed. Okay.
Just asking if that bothered you, that she's basically always going to be on Red's side, it feels like. I think it was Cooper that pointed out, hey, like last week he kidnapped you. He had a sociopath kidnap you. That didn't bother you. Well, bother me a little bit, but I'm over it. So, yeah. Okay, now before Troy gets carried away, I do want to come back to the DNA test and point out that you can tell the sex. So while he is on his rampant, she could still be mom thing, that DNA test should say whether or not he's a man or a woman.
The DNA test that Liz ran or the DNA test that Cooper ran?
Well, they both would say it, but because Liz didn't open hers,
we don't know.
Because her DNA... Point out again, her DNA that she ran, 4 years ago would be from this particular person calling himself Raymond Reddington. And I'm determined. I feel like I have to say that all the time now.
I do. Yeah, now you have to.
Where the clothes are from the person that was Raymond Reddington 30 years ago. Now,
we'll just say
there are
we'll make
so
it easy.
many different
We'll
things.
make it easy. Pre-90 Reddington and post-90 Reddington.
Yeah, I still find that confusing. So basically, bloody clothes, Raymond. Current day Raymond.
There you go.
Her test would tell who James Spader is.
Yes.
Okay, it would tell if that was her. The clothes tell who pre-90s Red Reddington, what the connection is. So we know that the person that wore those clothes is
Liz's father.
Liz's father. We
Yes,
know
biological father. We don't want to make all the adopted people all angry and stuff.
But because we've been Barishnikoved again, we don't actually know if this particular Raymond Reddington is actually her father because he doesn't. What's that?
Is that we don't know. This Raymond Reddington is the Raymond Reddington.
Right, because he doesn't say yes. He doesn't say, "Man, you got me." He doesn't raise his hand up. Guilty. He doesn't do anything. He just sits there and goes,
Well, you found that out.
My bad. And there's a little bit more to that, but we'll wait until we get to Red because that's how we're going to finish it out. But one question I had from this entire 2 hours, okay, and we've already covered a bunch of it. I think we've got most of the things actually already covered. But why wouldn't she get out of? Why did she get out of that car? When she says, if you stay in the car, you can find out the truth. If you get out, you're on Red side. And I guess we already established earlier in the episode that she's on more Red side than the task force, obviously. But why would you not want to know what happened? At this point, she even says all the questions I've had my entire life about where I came from and everything else. But all you have to do is stay in that car, and she's going to take you to the truth, and you get out. Why?
Especially after last week when she clearly screamed out Kaplan in the cabin. Mm-hmm. So she had feelings for Kate. So why would you turn your back on Kaplan in this moment?
That's the only thing in the episode that bothered me.
Yeah, if there was something she said while they were sitting there holding hands that triggered something in Liz's brain, I don't know what it would be. It seemed pretty straightforward to me. But yeah, so it's the same thing. Like, why would you go back to Red? You've been trying so hard. Kate did all of this so you could escape from Reddington in the first place. And yet you're still going to go back to him after everything that Kate's done. Yeah. Same question. Same question. Scratch my head.
And it goes back to the dance thing that I've complained about a couple times. That's the part that bugs me, because if she says she wants the truth, she seems like she wants the truth, but then the thing that would lead her to the truth, she steps away from. Now, I guess you could paint it as she's actually afraid of the truth, except for in the very same episode, when she's talking to Red, she says how bad she wants to know this truth.
Right.
That makes no sense to me.
Well, unless she feared for her life because she does have a daughter. And she's like, if I stay in the car, will I get shot? And what'll happen to Agnes? That's another way you could play it.
I think she knows Red's people would never shoot her. I think she knows that. And I think she knows Kaplan. So in my mind, I'll be perfectly honest. She knows she's in no danger. This is basically just a decision of hers.
Is she in no danger? Granted, they might not shoot her, but something could happen in the crossfire. You don't know what Kaplan's state of mind is towards Boz and everybody else. So there could be potential danger. So she got herself out of potential danger.
You're painting it to give her an out, which I think, okay, that's fair in a way.
We're supposed to have point counterpoint. I'm just putting a counterpoint out there.
I get that.
I agree with you. I was upset she got out of the car.
What are you doing? It as I saw it, it made no sense that she would get out of that car.
Right.
I mean, it made no sense because Kaplan could do the exact same thing. They're not going to shoot with her in the car. She has to know that. The whole thing just felt orchestrated and part of the dance. And that dance can be frustrating and not in a good way for me at this point. It used to be in a great way. It used to be fun, but now I'm at the point where, okay, that thing, at least give me a little bit of something. Because I already have said, I don't know how many times, no, I don't think this particular person is actually her father. I think they've done everything they could to illustrate that. But because it said it on the show, therefore, hey, it's cemented. No, what was cemented was the person that wore those clothes is actually her father.
Yep.
That's it. They said Red doesn't lie to Liz. Everybody behind the show has committed to that. And she flat out asked, "Are you my father?" And he said, "No." Now you can get around that with the whole Sam is really her father. He's just, her biological. It's not the same thing to a lot of people.
We'll go back to our fall finale too. You can also get around it from the whole rules are set up in that first episode. Criminals are notorious liars, and he's lied the whole time. So I
don't think so because
he could be the Raymond Reddington.
Everything could be true. I'm just not even going to think about it anymore. It just gives me a headache. There's so many different ways you can take it.
But the answer is Raymond Reddington is her father. The question has changed. The question now is this Raymond Reddington?
I would agree with that. I would agree with that. But that question, I just won't put to bed.
It is put to bed. It is put to bed. Raymond Reddington is her father. Put to bed.
Well,
Done.
see, okay.
Because
it's put to bed on the showrunner. And I think, honestly, it was put to bed in the fall finale.
Yeah.
But it still came back anyway because I don't think fans are accepting it. I don't think fans are accepting many things that are happening. But he does. But see, the thing was, he does say Elizabeth is my daughter in the fall finale, and here we're acknowledging that Raymond Reddington is her father. Now that does play into your mother theory, absolutely. They don't act. Nobody's ever denied that either, and in fact, they're kind of coy about it. Like, that one makes me laugh in the interview. To me, yes, that could be like, oh crap, I can't believe somebody. I have to dance around it because somebody actually guessed our ending forever ago. There's somebody has already guessed the ending. We just don't know who's right yet.
Right. And there was one thing to put on this episode, too, with the Dom scenes, that Red is specifically talking to Dom, and he uses the term Masha. Masha, 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 Masha. He never says Elizabeth. Every time Red refers to Elizabeth, it's Elizabeth or Agent Keen. So interesting that he was specifically referring to Dom as Masha.
Say that again?
So if you go back and watch a scene with Dom, right, they're sitting in the apartment and like, yes, Masha's alive. I'm sorry I kept that from you. Masha's alive. Masha's this and Masha's that. He never says the name Elizabeth to Dom. But yeah, when he does that whole, yes, Elizabeth is my daughter. So maybe Masha's not his daughter, but Elizabeth is his daughter. And it goes back to the two families and blah, 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 and all that crap.
Yeah, and he's protecting Masha and gave her the name Elizabeth, which Elizabeth is actually his daughter's name.
Correct.
Who died in the fire.
Potentially.
That's
another thread. I thought it was weird that he didn't use the word. He always says Elizabeth. Oh, hello, Elizabeth. Hello, Agent Keen. Never addresses Elizabeth as Masha. But yet when he's talking about Elizabeth dying, he's talking about Masha. So I guess in that case, then they are the same person, right?
Sure. That's what I'm saying.
Confusing.
Some of this stuff, there's too much confusion, and I don't think it's getting convoluted. You run the risk because there's so many episodes and so many seasons at this point, and you're going into the 5th season. You're right on the cusp. You're right on the X-Files cusp, guys. And if you dangle and twist this carrot much more, the whole thing will collapse. Now, I have faith in these guys, and I think they're wonderful at what they do. And they still have us talking about it. But I sense the frustration from fans that, okay, now I feel like we're kind of being jerked around to a degree because of the dance, the back and forth dance, the da-da-da-da. And I think maybe some of the writers feel like they're being clear as a bell, or clear as, no, you're not. I'm letting you know you're not. Yes, the clues are there and everything else, but you also make sure to leave things open to point in several different directions. They're doing that very intentionally. And I think that can be frustrating as a fan because, yeah, you like having that mythology and you like having that guesswork, but you also need a little bit of direction and stop pulling me back and forth on certain things. And I think that's what I'm personally tired about. And I see other viewers kind of tired of that, which is why the Ressler stuff was more impactful, because I feel like the ending with the Red List thing, we've kind of been there before. We've been there. Yep. We've done that to a degree. Now, put to bed, sure, but I guarantee it'll come up again. I guarantee it'll come up again. I feel in my gut because he didn't respond in any way to that. And, when Dembe asked him, did you deny it? And he said, and he couldn't. That's, I don't know.
The Dembe line makes it all kind of weird, too. That's the thing.
It just made it more confusing.
Yeah. Did you deny it?
As always.
No, I didn't deny it. Okay, so does that mean that you're not the father? Does that mean you're not Red?
Right. Doesn't mean anything, does it? We're right back to where we started, is what it feels like. And she thinks that's Kate's secret? Yes. So she doesn't know about the suitcase. Raymond, I'm not sure Elizabeth will ever be ready to find out what you did to Katerina. Once again, can take it different ways. Now you see the bones, and you're supposed to be led to believe that those are Katerina's bones. But you know what? We'll come back to the bones. We do got to talk about the fact that he's broke. Going into season 5, Red is broke. He's downing wine in between shakedowns. He's staying at seedy motel rooms. He also admires saddles that make me think of Secretary. That's fun. And he even has this nice little island in a cheap-ass box. 96 acres, full staff all paid for. I don't know if it's for him or for Masha, but I'm kind of wondering what's going to happen to Red Reddington next season. I mean, he's got the island. He could technically just run away, but he's got to rebuild an empire, right?
He sure does. And he needs Liz's help to do it.
Do you like that aspect that we have I mean, is he still going to be as worthwhile to the task force at this point?
That's the storyline switch. I think that's going to be, is he really the informant? Does the deal still in play? I think at this point it might be father-daughter rebuilding the empire. I think it's a whole new Blacklist next year, potentially. And so the Blacklist might become the people that he needs to find in order to rebuild his empire.
Yeah, I think that'll be part of it. And I think they're going to be the task force will be back to going for Red a little bit.
Yeah, maybe Gale actually joins up and something happens to Ressler because Ressler actually confesses, potentially. You never know.
I don't think he'd hire a cleaner if he's going to confess.
True.
That would seem a little silly. But he could be the target of an investigation by Gale.
Yeah.
Yeah, looking into Hitchens' disappearance.
Sudden disappearance off the face of the
Pretty
North
sudden.
map.
And I'm sure her security detail noticed that Ressler left that night. That kind of thing. She's an important person.
Yep.
So that'll be interesting. Okay, now we can go back. They have the confrontation. If you need to walk away, anger, fear, and a certain amount of hatred are all normal in a family, and that's what we are, and I'm not going to walk away from that. Now, he does have a familial bond with her in some way. Could be mom, could be dad, could be uncle, could be, I don't know what the hell else there is. I'm sure there's another option.
Could be if you're a spy like Tom and I need to play the role of your husband, I could just be playing the role of your father.
Yeah, could be a much older brother. I don't know. Could be a lot of things. I don't know what else it could be. There's so many different things. But at the end, we find out, I'm not sure Elizabeth will ever be ready to find out what you did to Katerina. Tom finds a suitcase. He comes back to the Blacklist. I guess his time in redemption is done because that show was not renewed, for those that didn't know. And he finds a suitcase, the tag to Elizabeth Keene. Mr. Kaplan's instructions are real specific. He says on the phone to whoever he's talking to. People assume it's Liz. We don't know that.
Right. That's the first place everybody went. Like, oh, Liz got the instructions from Kaplan. Therefore, but then if Kaplan was going to give Liz the instructions on where to find the suitcase, then why would she put Liz's address on the suitcase?
Right.
Because eventually someone's going to figure out, oh, this locker hasn't been opened. They're going to open the locker. They'll send the luggage directly to the address, and then Liz will get it anyway. So I don't think it was Liz on the phone.
Right. Same here.
It could have been one of Kaplan's henchmen, potentially.
Yeah, it very well could have been. I think we'll find that out next season. And maybe Tom knows the secret, and he has to determine if it's something he wants to share with Liz. Like, should I even tell her? Maybe now I understand why Red has to keep that a secret.
Because remember, Tom worked for Red originally.
Yeah, if you get that whole thing, that'll just piss me off. But don't do that. Supposedly his loyalties lie with Liz now, but I could see him not wanting to tell her to protect her.
Right. Yeah, I love you, so therefore I'm keeping this from you because I love you.
Right. Absolutely.
Yep. So
that's an interesting play. Now, do you have a theory on whose bones they are?
What's
your personal theory?
Well, the first theory was when they said like what you did to Kate, I was like, oh, you got rid of Kate by doing the sex change. First thing that popped into my head. So then, of course, the bones would be the original.
What you did to Katerina? Don't say Kate because that confuse people.
Sorry, yes, I was Katerina, Kate. So too many K's. Call him Tracy or something, or Susie, or
call her Red. Because her hair was red.
Yeah.
Get it? Now she's Red Reddington. Oh, I'm sorry. I just went to your theory.
There you go. What you did to Katerina, I thought sex change, got rid of her mother to become her quote unquote father, and then it's Raymond's bones in the suitcase. But it could be Katerina's bones in the suitcase, and Raymond died in the fire, and this is an imposter that assumed Raymond's identity. It could be Raymond's bones, and Katerina is never found, and this guy is not Raymond, but claiming the identity. Could be Raymond's bones, and Red is Katerina, or it could be Katerina's bones, and this is actually Raymond, and Raymond killed Katerina, not actually disappeared into the ocean. So
could be Elizabeth's bones too, Ray's daughter.
Could be Jennifer's bones, although I thought Jennifer was alive.
No, Jennifer's alive. I think it could be
throwing stuff
Elizabeth's
out there now
bone.
just to make people pissed off.
Yep. So that's interesting. There's so many different things it could be. Well, it's one of those where I'm going to wait and find out. I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell with my bones aficionado knowledge. I could not tell if that was a male or female's bone. So we don't know. It's a small suitcase though. So
I think based on Dembe's comments, it could only be one of two people, either Raymond or Katerina.
Oh boy, you sure want it to be one of those, don't you?
Yeah, I'm just saying. If it ends up being true, it's great. If not, I mean, even if it's the imposter theory, at least the imposter theory was the origination of the mother theory. So,
Yeah.
Well,
you've had the mother theory since the get-go. So, I mean...
Well, we had imposter theory from episode 2. We had mother theory from episode 10.
Okay.
So...
I think you had mother theory before that, honestly.
No, we had to wait for Red to say, no, I'm not your father at the end of episode 10.
Oh, gotcha.
And then we're like, oh, that's why he's the imposter, because he's not the father, he's the mother. Ding, ding.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, imposter theory was like right out of the gate. The minute he said everything about me is a lie, oh yeah, great, he's a different person. He's not actually Red Reddington.
I've always said it'd be a cool twist.
It would
It'd
be
a cool twist.
It would be.
There's a lot of different ways it can go, guys, and I'm sure everybody has feelings. But I do want to tell you that for this particular episode, we are done. I think we covered the finale as best we could. But the show's not over. We still have more to do. And we're going to go a little bit deeper into the Blacklist with Red's rhetoric right after this.
The last few weeks, we've been telling you about the new Reddington watch from Leonard and Church. Well, there are just a few left, and in honor of the season finale, you can now pick up the Reddington for 20% off. Inspired by our captivating main character, it features the signature red and black colors of the Blacklist and comes in a unisex 40mm stainless steel case with a unique single-handed watch face. It has a premium South American hide suede leather strap that is comfortable against your wrist in any situation, whether you're at a club, in a warehouse, or on the Cape in the salty air. It'll stay affixed to your wrist so that you don't lose it in the sand. Don't be standing in front of an empty van expecting your shipment. Order your Reddington watch today at leonardandchurch.com/blacklist. Supplies are limited, and now it is 20% off. That's leonardandchurch.com/blacklist. Welcome to Red's Rhetoric, that part of the show where we feature two scenes from this week's show, and then you get to vote which is your favorite over at theblacklistexposed.com. Just look for the post for Mr. Kaplan. Last week, you all were seeking to get even, as Red Revenge won with 68% of the vote. Our first clip this week comes when Red is eyeing a knife set.
Incentive. The currency of politicians, dog trainers, and criminals.
We're in a meeting here. Who the hell do you think you are?
I'm Raymond Reddington. I'm looking for a customer of yours, Philip Roque. In the last 4 weeks, he purchased an automobile from one of you fine gentlemen, tricked out with all the bells and whistles. Anyone? No? Perhaps an incentive. You get to keep all your fingers and toes.
Philip Roque. No address or number. Everything ran through a business manager.
And who was that exactly?
Our second clip comes when Red desperately needs to make a phone call.
Julian! It's been a long time. You look fit. Jumping jacks?
Pitching. You got to her.
When was the last time you and I saw each other? London? No. Cape Town? No, that's not right. Don't tell me. It'll come.
How? Did you bribe her?
As a matter of fact, I did. Anywho. Mr. Kaplan, I need to know how to reach her.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
She uses burner phones. You must have her latest number.
So what are you going to do? Kill me?
No, I'm going to take your phone. Ho Chi Minh City, that's it. I got away from you aboard that catfish trawler on the Saigon River. My God, the humidity. But fun times, indeed. More to come, Agent Gale. More to come.
Which is your favorite? If you think people need a little push from time to time, vote hashtag Red Incentive. Or if you like reminiscing with old friends, vote hashtag Red Gale.
Hey, this is Amir. I play Aram on The Blacklist, and you are listening to The Blacklist Exposed.
Let's go to Special Agent Intel. The first one comes from Kara Adler. First, amazing twists. From Aram's testimony, Hitchens saving their bacon, then her getting accidentally cooked. Aram, Janet, and Samar hope Boz makes it. Apparently he doesn't, but we didn't see him die, so therefore, guys, you can still bring him back. And Kaplan. Sad to see Susan go, but Kaplan went out on her terms and still spit in Red's eye on the way out. Really, really hope that isn't Katerina in the case, but I've studied forensic anthropology and worked with human remains. The suitcase was much slimmer than the boxes we used, but those bones are adult-sized. Mm-hmm. Oh, all right. Well, thank you for being our bones.
There you go. Mary Beth said, I think it's Katerina in the suitcase. Red was abducted after the fire, and I'm thinking Lizzie shot her mother, and Red had her memories changed to shooting her father. The bones are charred remains of her mother, hence the K on the tree. They could have answered the question a long time ago. I think they lost more viewers they gained by it. It is not the paternity question that makes the show so watchable, but the great characters and their stories, along with all the plots and subplots. I think the paternity question kind of distracted from the other stories a bit, could have been answered last season.
All right, Sheila Snover. I am not sold that is Katerina in the suitcase. Who or how, it says how, but who could have talked Red? How could have Red talked Kate into killing her? Her loyalty was to Katerina. She would believe her before Red. That's a very good point. Mm-hmm. That's a very good point. I don't buy it. Even though Kate says, I am sorry, Katerina, before she starts digging, doesn't mean it is her. You know what? That's something we didn't talk about.
Yeah, we did. I went through
I
went through 4 different examples of what it could mean.
No, not that part.
Oh,
the part where we talked to that people think it's Katerina's bones in there. That wouldn't make any sense because she wouldn't take part in Katerina's murder.
Maybe. I kept toying with that too.
And Katerina was dead. She died away from Kaplan. We know that from the Kaplan episode.
Right.
That she died while away because they allude to she's in Cape May.
And her body was never recovered. And then she said to Annie, I think my friend killed herself.
Yes. So
why would she go work for a man who technically said, hey, here's your former boss's corpse. I found it.
Right.
But let's bury it so nobody else can find Masha. I mean, there's a potential he could have spun it that way to say, hey, I found Katerina for you, Kate. Here's her bones, but we can't let anybody find this because if they find it, then they can find Masha, and we need to protect Masha at all costs.
Okay, that's fair. Because if she did commit suicide, but we hid the bones to protect Masha, that's possible. That's possible. I mean, I guess if they're all diving in the ocean trying to get that body. Okay, all right, well, never mind. So, but that's a good point, though, and one we didn't talk about, so I'm glad that you brought that up.
And it would tie into the body was never recovered.
Mm-hmm.
Because eventually it's going to wash up on shore. So in this case, Red was the one that found it, potentially.
I know Red says what we did to Katerina. Maybe it was something else he is talking about. It is too obvious. I agree with that. Also, Cape May still comes to mind. I know Red was high. Still him finding the necklace on the beach, and that whole thing has to fit. The clues are in front of us. We are being distracted by red herrings, like at the end of every season. Man, I could not agree more. Take my hand. We will dance.
Dancing is not something you like to do, though.
It's not.
Anita said, why don't these people find better cleaners? Prescott is storing his bodies just like Kaplan. The stew maker had the right but creepy idea. Just make them go away. If Hitchens had employed a better cleaner, Ressler never would have gotten his bullet, and she would still be alive. I have the feeling there are warehouses all over the United States filled with barrels of bodies. I think so, too.
Oh, okay. Mona Jones. This was the best season finale. We'll miss Susan, but she went out with a splash. Her character was priceless. Fascinating, moving. Hope Boz pulls through. Everybody's pulling for Boz, but apparently he did.
Take note, writer's room. Bring him back.
And every regular in the show had such great parts tonight. Each person, Cooper, Ressler, Aram, Samar, Liz, Reddington, and Kaplan, all were demonstrated their essential characters in profound ways. It was masterful. I loved it. So tell me how you really feel.
Lori Crable, I'm disappointed that it took Red's Elizabeth's father. I'm disappointed that it looks like Red is Elizabeth's father. That's what she said.
We should just stop reading.
I know.
That's really what the problem is.
I am disappointed that it looks like Red is Elizabeth's father. Since the beginning, I was convinced he wasn't. It's not because I'm wrong, but it seems lazy and boring to come to that conclusion after 4 seasons. But there have been so many twists and turns, we may discover that this isn't true. I remind myself that nothing is ever as it seems on the show.
Well, I can tell you, I do not think the guy that she's hugging is her dad.
The shirt could have belonged to somebody else, too, potentially, I suppose.
Oh, my God. Now we're getting... No,
that's stupid. I hate that.
I hate that more than I hate all this dancing.
Raymond Reddington is the dad. It's just the Raymond Reddington pre-1990.
You already said that like 40 times.
We're just making sure it sticks so people can just move on to the new question. What's in the box?
Grace Norman. So, what's in the box?
For the suitcase.
There's twice that happened in this episode. What's in that little cheap box? What's in the suitcase box? Grace. So much to talk about, but I'm going to focus on the last 10 minutes or so of Mr. Kaplan. Conclusion. As soon as Laurel fell, I definitely figured she was dead. Now Ressler is a cold-blooded killer. But in his defense, it wasn't intentional until he called the cleaner. I'm just going to point that out again. I know it's not for sure that Red is Liz's father, but the chances are looking pretty good. Are they? And I love that hug. I did a cross between a scream and a laugh when Aram kissed Samar. Mostly Grace. I just wished I was Aram. You know what I'm saying? Because I was amused, surprised, and happy. The last topic would be the suitcase. Is it Katerina? From the way Red was talking about, it sounded like he may have killed her. Well, I can't wait to find out this big secret. Better wait a while. I don't think we're going to find out anytime soon. All in all, a great season. Here's to the amazing cast and crew. I do want to say everyone outdid themselves in this 2-hour finale. I adore this show. Yes, you did.
Yes, they did.
I would tell you, people have really changed, man, because like when right before the fall finale, there were a lot of people complaining. But as always, they came back at the end.
They always do. Megan Miller said, I still want to know what happened to Red's wife and daughter, what Diane Fowler alluded to before Red shot her. Why did they disappear on Christmas Eve? I just laugh every time I hear that. We don't know it's Christmas Eve. Was this Katerina and Masha all along? But that doesn't make sense because Red said, if you know what happened to them, so does someone else. Who did he live at the house with? The house he blew up in season 1. And the significance of Old Lincoln. The Old Lincoln. Red being her dad just feels natural to me. Ever since the episodes with the music box that played the song that Liz remembered, it was obvious he was her dad. I'm over it. Let's answer some other questions.
I'm with you there. Wendy, she always says I say her name wrong because it's Davis, right?
Davis, yes.
But it's spelled Davies, so really it's on your parents. So you can stop being mad at me. It's on mom and dad. They should have changed it at some point. I've had a kip. There are no adequate words to describe how I feel right now, but bloody hell, that's the way to do a finale. Well, that works.
Short and sweet. Sophie said, I thought it was a good season finale. The show has me questioning everything through obviously Red from 30 or so years ago as Liz's father, but is Spader's character really the same person? The Red we know could still be Katerina or an imposter. I love that. If we're to believe
sure you do.
If we're to believe he's never lied to her, he can't be her father, unless we go into semantics and argue a father should be present in a child's life, etc. Anyway, I'm glad we finally know that Liz ran a DNA test years ago. It would have been more interesting if we'd known that one wasn't a match, though. Oh, and there's also a possibility that Red has a twin.
Oh, no.
Maybe it was the twin who said he wasn't her father. No equals no lie. I hate twin tropes, though, so I'm hoping that's not it. What a cop-out.
I'm with you on that last line, Sophie. That's one of my biggest TV cliches. I hate that. I hate it. Oh, that's what I had a twin. They love it when people die, and then they're like, I had a twin. Really? You didn't mention it the entire 3 other seasons you were on the show. Ugh.
It works in movies, though.
The one thing I want to point out, like with the Katerina thing, the mother theory, where that Red is actually Katerina, the theory you've had forever. The thing that won't let it die for me is interviews. Like I would probably would have just moved past it completely by now. But in every interview, it's not that they don't deny it. It's that, especially with the actors, they act like they've never heard it. And we know that they have. So it's just like, whenever that happens, it's like, oh, I don't know about that one. That's kind of new to me. Or, well, you have to ask James on that one. I'm just like, there's more to that one.
Yeah,
damn it.
Megan's response to Natalie in the EW article, I thought that was hysterical.
You have to ask James that one. Isn't that what hers was?
Yeah, she laughed. Like she what was it? Parentheses, laughs out loud, parentheses, Someone actually thinks that? Well, you have to ask James about that.
Yeah. Every interview, that seems to be the response, and that's why I can't let it leave my head. I'm like, man, that feels just too much like we're playing coy. So,
Yep.
not saying that's the case, but that's how I feel. All right, we gotta wrap up. Ellen Purdy. Oh, Ellen, you're so purdy. Well, there were some things that I was disappointed by. Overall, I really enjoyed the finale. I especially loved the Dom and Aram and the Ressler and Hitchin scenes. I also enjoyed watching Liz and Samar working so well together again. And I loved how Red used Hitchin's cleaner to find Reverend Wright in order to force Hitchins to shut down the grand jury. I also liked that somebody, Cooper, finally brought up the DNA question. So did everybody. I am now looking forward to learning more about the suitcase of bones and especially to finding out more about Seaduke. I will miss Kaplan so much, but I'm still holding out hope that Boz will live. So much Boz love. And I thought it was awesome that they ended the finale with Tom walking off with Kaplan's suitcase. I do not, however, think that we got a definitive answer on the father question, though. That sucks, as usual. I did not. She wrote that.
Yeah,
I didn't say that.
We have a definite answer. We just don't know if the Raymond Reddington is Raymond Reddington. Whew. Crystal, I absolutely love that finale. The Blacklist once again proved they're at their best when they're putting together a season finale. It kept me on the edge of my seat the entire episode. Watching all of Red's people jump ship and everything crumble was good because it ties back in all the talk of loyalty and true friendship this season. I was thinking, how the hell are they going to get out of this stuff and then go and pull Revan from a barrel? That was awesome and creepy. Aram stayed loyal in all heart. I don't ship people, but I ship good moments, and damn, those were some good moments. Samar not telling Aram about that bitch Janet was a beautiful thing.
Damn,
that was her words, not mine.
I know, but harsh, man. Harsh.
Then that beautiful Aram and Samar kiss melted my heart and was worth every back and forth moment this season. Oh my goodness, did I love Ressler in these episodes. I thought he did so fantastic. I can't wait to see where this goes. The image of him sitting on that couch like Red, waiting for the cleaner in the dark, was one of my favorites of the night. Overall, I'm clearly saying this is a 10 out of 10 stars for me. The season 1 throwbacks were great. The storylines for next year are going to be fantastic. I am already on the edge of my seat, and I can't wait.
How are them Duke boys going to get out of this one? That's you.
All right. Dondi said, great ending to a great arc, with one exception. I loved every bit of it, and most likely you already know this. You can fool your audience, but you must never ever lie to them. If you do, it will get a lot of rage quits. Red being revealed as Liz's father isn't quite that bad, but it really leaves a bad taste. Frankly, at this point, I can't see any believable way that today's Red is not the same guy who went to Annapolis decades ago. That DNA test was based on a sample of Red in his blood that was 30 or so years old, so that pretty much confirms that the Red who served in naval intelligence is today's Red. I don't know how that is, but okay. The only way I can see that this is not the case is if Liz's father died 25 to 30 years ago and today's Red took his place. I agree. If that was the case, I would expect that today's Red also went to Annapolis and has had plastic surgery to more closely resemble the original Raymond. Why this would have been done, I have no idea. It's reaching, in my opinion. Not if you saw Independence USA in Redemption. Just saying. I was glad to see Brian Dennehy again. I thought that touching base with him again was a nice touch. And Red's explanation of why he hadn't told him Masha was alive made sense as far as Red's part in it goes. I guess we're supposed to either believe Liz never was in the news again or Dom never reads it. In any case, Red needs to take Liz to see him.
That's a really good point.
It is.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a TV in his house, but okay. I'm going to miss Mr. Kaplan. Dagnabbit, but she shouldn't have shot Boz. See you next season, and for what it's worth, I do like the new day and time.
Oh, yeah, we didn't say that. They're going to Wednesdays on
Wednesdays,
fall.
Wednesdays at
7
8
p.m.
7
Yeah,
p.m.
8,
Central.
8 Eastern, 7 Central. So we're still working out when we're going to do the podcast. But how do you like that new day and time? Do you like that? Or
I think it's fine. Doesn't bother me. I watch it on the DVR anyway.
Okay. Just checking. Okay, we did have an email that just came in from James Steen. James, we're already almost done with the recording, so we didn't have time to actually go through it, but I did want to acknowledge that your thoughts, and do appreciate the email that you sent in. Sorry you didn't get it in time, and some great thoughts in there. I'm just trying to. Unfortunately, we just didn't have enough time to get to it. So, but I do want to tell you, we literally just got it, and we're wrapping up the show now. So, Just wanted to let you know. Thanks for sending the email. TC Casa, what a killer. Literally so much death. And what a great season finale. Since this war between Kaplan and Red began, I was Team Kaplan for the obvious reason that Red attempted to kill her even though he betrayed her. Behaved. She was trying to protect Lizzie. I loved and found every move Kaplan made fascinating and so strategically planned. It really was great. I love seeing Red in the defense for the first time in a while. Love that we finally get a big answer and it just opens up 100 more. LOL. P.S. Love Kaplan, but no one hurts the precious angel Boz. Great finish to a great second half.
That it was. And again, Boz again for the win.
Mm-hmm.
Bring the man back. The ambulance made it in time. Nate said, "Oh my stinking goodness, these last 2 hours have blown my mind into 1,000 different pieces. This is why I've been hooked on the Blacklist since the very beginning. I'm shaking and crying and cheering and stinking freaking out because these last 2 hours were not only phenomenal, amazing, breathtaking storytelling, beautifully shot and filmed, carefully and skillfully crafted. It was a literal piece of art." Susan Blomert, thank you for giving us such an amazing, layered, and complicated character in Mr. Kaplan, Catherine Nemec. To the entire cast and crew, you guys gave us something truly special. I don't think I'm by myself in saying I stood up, pointed at the screen, and literally said, "Wow," at the end of that episode. I applaud all of you for giving all of us a stellar season and a breathtaking 2-hour conclusion and season finale. John Bokenkamp, you are a gentleman and a scholar. I am enjoying the thrill ride that you're taking all of us on and can't wait for season 5. I would give analysis, but as Raymond would say, I am bereft. Again, we, your audience, say thank you.
I think that's a great email to close the show on.
It sure is.
And totally agree. Once again, great season finale. Loved it. That's going to conclude this episode. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at The Blacklist GSM, where we live tweet during the East Coast feed, and we use the show's hashtag, The Blacklist.
When the show is on. But we'll just be posting stuff.
When the show is on. But do subscribe. Don't not subscribe. Don't just listen from the web browser. You have to subscribe because we do have some cool stuff coming out. And if you're a Blacklist fan, you don't want to miss it.
That's right. Don't forget to follow us on Tumblr, Instagram, and join the Facebook group to keep those conversations going. Just search for The Blacklist Exposed. Talk about the show, the podcast, or where you hide your dead bodies.
You can also subscribe, like I just said, to the podcast in Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, or your favorite podcast player of choice. You can even listen from the website, but if you're really on the go, make sure you download our app for iOS and Android, powered by Spreaker. You can also find all the intel and analysis about this episode from Mr. Kaplan by visiting theblacklistexposed.com. Big thanks for listening this season. Don't forget, Troy and I will be back in July with some special episodes for you. Be sure to vote in the podcast awards. We really do appreciate it. We'll have an episode that kind of explains that as we get closer to it. But until then, I think that's going to do it for this season finale. We do have a couple interview ones coming up, though.
Yep.
So come back.
Make sure you come back. It's going to be fun. Can't wait. Until next time, I'm Agent Troy Heinritz. That's at Troy Heinritz on Twitter. And if you want to learn more about me, just visit, about.me/Troy Heinritz.
And I'm Agent Aaron Peterson. You can hear me talking about movies and TV on the Hollywood Outsider podcast, as well as Remake This Movie Right. We are available at thehollywoodoutsiders.com or on Twitter at H_outsider. Be sure to subscribe, download the app, submit your feedback, but most importantly, keep yourself off of the Blacklist.
The Blacklist Exposed is a Golden Spiral Media production. Find more of our great podcasts at goldenspiralmedia.com/podcasts.